This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 781 for the week of Monday, August 7th, 2023. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And on today's podcast, we have a very special guest. He is the translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump and Manga Plus. We have Stephen Paul with us. How's it going, Stephen?
Hey, we're all living in a post-Gear 5 world now.
Yeah, now the anime people are
we're all
joining us here. I assume everyone has caught up by this point. In the world is what I meant. We also have our anime recap host joining us for the full episode. Sam Leach is here with us. How's it going, Sam?
Gear 5, more like Rag Evith.
What?
What?
Is that a joke?
It's Gear 5 backwards.
Oh,
my goodness.
I think you worked too hard on that entry. I'm gonna just.
I was like, is that a young joke? I don't know.
That's
No.
Gear 5 when you're on your love dog.
Exactly,
No, it's a shit post.
It's Gear 5 when you're on your lav dog.
There's only
That's a
one
shit
you laugh,
post.
dog.
That's God Valley backwards, by the way, for those who don't remember. We also have, if you haven't heard everyone already, he has been let's see if I could do this off the top of my head, animation director on series including Teen Titans Go, Rick and Morty, Rugrats. What can you mention the show you're doing now? Or is it NDA?
Say Urkel Holiday Special and Invincible Fight Girl, which should be out next year.
Steve
Nice.
Urkel Holiday Special. You heard it right.
Yeah. I don't know where it's going. It was supposed to be HBO Max, but thanks, David Zaslav, for that.
Yeah,
Cutting our
I
show.
think we could all agree he's pretty awful. And not that unless someone here is trying to get a contract with HBO Max for some reason. We also have.
Well, that'd be hard to do now.
That's fair
Yeah,
enough.
since it's called Max, there's no HBO Max.
It's true. We have game developer. I know you worked on God of War 3. We have Donny with us. How's it going, Donny? It's been years, maybe?
Last time I was on was the manga chapter right before Gear 5 is revealed for the manga, so
you've never lived in a post-Gear 5 world on this podcast?
no, this is the first time, I guess.
Yeah, wow. Is it different?
Bouncy?
You should probably check that out.
It's not like
I'm
we
calling
haven't
my
seen.
doctor.
It's not like we haven't seen plenty of Donnie in the last couple months, though.
That's true. We'll get to that as well.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to introduce our last guest, and then I'll do a better segue, probably. We have Merphy Napier, booktuber, and special guest joining us. How's it going, Merphy?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So a couple things we should talk about since we have Donnie here. Donnie, what was Steven intimating at before?
I help manage, I guess, and stream on our official Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/One Piece Podcast. We have multiple people streaming throughout the week. Right now, we have a set schedule of Monday, Thursday, Friday at all different time zones, because we have people streaming from the East Coast, Central Time, Pacific Time. The schedule is up on our Twitch channel, but we have folks like me, Dan, the editor of the One Piece Podcast, Joe, our Discord manager. She also has made a lot of the thumbnails and graphics for the VODs from the streams that we host up on the Twitch as well.
Do people pronounce them VODs? Am I just learning this?
Yep.
Pretty
Oh my
sure.
God.
Unless I've been saying it wrong this entire time.
No, Donnie, you're definitely in the right, and I assumed you were. I just was surprised that I never knew that. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, it's been really fun. It's great. We have a pretty decent following on there, and we do a variety of games. It's more in the Maji Media family, so we don't stream just One Piece stuff. We had, but we've already branched off. Dan and myself are doing a Pokemon Nuzlocke challenge, which basically means Pokemon hard mode. If your Pokemon faints, it's dead. You have to release it. Joe is going through all the Zelda games. Dan's doing old classic NES game challenges, playing very difficult games and trying to see if he can beat them in one sitting. So there's a lot of variety, and we have a lot of plans for the channel going forward.
And Donnie is understating the amount of work he does. They do, and it's awesome. All the work that they do. do. So thank you, Donny.
No problem.
I do want to mention that there's some cool secret surprise stuff that Maji Media will hopefully have in the next few months, so please keep an eye out. I also would be remiss if I did not mention to subscribe to our Patreon channel at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast for alternate images, titles, and more. This week, Vero's doing the image, and very excited to... We have no idea what it is, obviously, as we sit here, but all of you do, and you know that is awesome. We are going to go through both Chapter 1089 today, and I'm sure you may have heard about Episode 1071, which reveals something. I don't really know, though. Someone could fill me in.
It revealed something, all right.
Did it reveal the pronunciation of VODs that I had? Is it GIF or GIF? Anyway, my point is, we'll find out in the anime recap. We're going to talk a lot more about it. There's just a couple little things related to it I want to mention quickly here at the top. First of all, the Gear 5 thing did, and I'm remiss to talk about Twitter at all, but I will call it that exclusively. It did trend across, I think, at least many major countries. The official account posted that it was like number 3 and 5 in Japan. It was number 3 and 8 in the US, Gear 5 and Luffy respectively. Brazil, it was the first and second. And in Chile, it was the first, so it knocked it out of the park on that.
It broke the internet. It broke Crunchyroll. Yeah.
It did break Crunchyroll. I had to use Funimation now. So me, Dan, and Sam, who were there, did like a live watch party on our Discord channel, which thanks for all those who showed up. And we did it on Funimation. And you know how frenetic the animation is in that. And I'll just say it definitely made it difficult when a stream was not perfectly, so use your imagination. The other thing I want to mention is we're doing a special series of episodes devoted to the new transformation. And the next one will be next week. This is going to be your more standard episode. Next week, we're going to have Grant joining Sam for the anime recap. We're going to have Vincent Chansard, who did some work on the episode 1071, as well as many others. And Kofi Fiagome, who worked on 1066 and also OKKO, Let's Be Heroes, and Craig of the Creek, and The Owl House, and Amphibia, amongst others. So definitely check that out. That's going to be a really fun episode next week. I don't believe there's a manga chapter because this was a double issue, but we have lots of really cool stuff for you.
We'll get to Oda's author comment in a minute.
Yeah, that's really all I had to say here at the top. So why don't we just get straight into the manga? We have so much content to go through. I didn't let any of it happen off mic. Don't worry. Let's move into the manga recap. This is the manga recap for Chapter 1081, Hostage Situation. You can read this chapter and all chapters as soon as they come out at mangaplus.shueisha.co.jp or at shonenjump.viz.com. Ed, what do you want to start with?
We'll start with Oda's author comment this week since I just mentioned it, but he says that, "I'm sorry that my serialization schedule will be unstable until the Netflix show premieres, and please enjoy the Universal Studios Japan Ice Show." So, don't
Sand
mind,
on the ice, as we've dubbed it.
Don't mind that there's no chapter. Here, look at this ice show.
About Alabasta.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why didn't they do it about trauma? That would have made perfect sense.
Yeah, well, sand on the ice.
Sure, okay.
And then the cover of Shonen Jump?
Yes, the cover of Jump is it's all the characters from the series, but front and center we have Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Chopper. Luffy and Chopper are very happy. Sanji and Zoro can't wait to get away from each other, it looks like. So.
They can't.
A classic pose.
One Piece gets a special privilege of 4 characters instead of 3.
Well, Chopper is forced to be there since...
the mascot.
Yeah,
he's contractually obligated.
Yeah.
I also like it how basically the 2 wings of the Pirate King are like, with their one eye exposed, opposite each other, which is very clever. I'm glad Oda did that.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Little visual, little cute.
Ed, you want to do the cover page now?
Sure. The cover page this week is a reader request for a cow giving Nami a cup of hot milk as she draws sea charts at night. Now, I don't know. You mean, I don't know where he got the milk, or she. I mean, but it's been artificially heated. It's just not just body heat. It looks like.
Let's hope.
But yes, Cow's got a weird tribal tattoo and just a weird look on his face too.
You're missing so many details that are important in this. So many. You're talking about the cow's milk,
you're
which is
fixated on the
great.
milk, which is interesting.
It is an
the milk didn't come from
interesting.
the cow.
Well, yes, the cow also has a note from Sanji that says,
there
"The
it
stars are so pretty tonight, just like you, Nami. Shall we stargaze together?" And Nami writes, "Thanks, I saw them already," which is
She's so real for that.
Wait, can we all? Can we
Yeah.
zoom in
good.
and enhance back there, please? Zoom in and enhance to the window. What is going on? What?
I did not notice that my first read through.
Me
I didn't
neither.
notice
Me
until
neither.
someone pointed it out on the Discord, and I was like, "Wait,
yes,
hold on."
he is
Ooh,
there.
Goblin mode back there.
Is he
Straight up
hanging
goblin.
off the hanging off the roof by his foot
Yeah.
to get in that position?
That is just
You know you could
wow.
do it too.
Kick him off the ship. That's too much.
That's the
line.
line of
That's
all
the
the
line.
things we've done so far. That's going to be the line.
That's
That is
it.
definitely the line.
I
That
mean,
is a
that's definitely
horror movie
over the
poster.
line. I'll say it's definitely over the line. I'm not saying he hasn't done things over the line before, but this is really far. This is too far. This
Writing-
literally gives me the heebie-jeebies looking at that.
Yeah, writing a little thirsty note and then peering through the window like you're the
Yeah.
Grinch on Christmas.
He's just excited.
What's that horror movie that just came out? The Smile movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
You mean
what
the Gear 5 episode that just happened?
No, that's what Sanji looks like right here.
Yeah, good point.
Anytime there's like written correspondence with Sanji and Nami, it is golden. They're always
Yes.
so funny.
That's
Heart
so
emoji.
true.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Water
remember
7.
other instances.
Water
Oh,
7.
yeah, that was
like
it.
Water
Oh,
7.
Man,
Yeah.
that was
one of my
so
favorite-
funny.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes in Water 7 too.
Yeah,
Right.
And the
Yeah.
anime
Nami's
did.
been
a good
handling
job.
this clown for a while.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
the expression between Nami and the cow, it looks like they're laughing about it. Like the cow's just like, that's so cold. You're great. Like,
Yeah.
Yep. Here you go, Queen. Here's your milk.
yeah.
You deserve this hot milk after that.
Even the way he's holding Sanji's note is like, have you seen this?
Oh,
Yeah.
you know, you've made this like 10 times better, this page here, Donnie. Like, I
And
love
it's funny
that.
because like that whole note exchange with Sanji being included is not within the reader's request. Oda just put that in
Yeah.
himself.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Ed, anything else about the hot milk?
No, I think we got the hot milk out of the way first so we could discuss the other stuff.
I'm gonna cry. What's next? What? Talk about the chapter.
On page 1, yes.
Sorry, the
next one.
hot milk just completely.
The tribal tattoos, too. That's what's really important.
Right.
Sorry, Ed.
Yeah. So back at Windmill Village in East Blue, we hear
Oh, we went really
murmurs.
far back.
Yeah. Murmurs of shock is here. Really? Garp vanished at Pirate Island? Is that true? Doesn't say he's dead, right? But we see it's Whoopslap is talking, and he says, he's a man of many legends. Don't worry about him. And Makino in the background says, exactly, Mr. Mayor. And someone starts
Wait,
laughing.
How long is a term of mayor in Windmill Village? I'm sorry, this is just occurring to me.
Mr. Mayor has the same energy as Mr. Manager.
Yeah. Mayor is his
He runs
first name.
unopposed every time.
Yeah. Who else would want to do the job?
He's like, he probably just stands there and isn't able to say anything when people ask questions. Please continue. I'm sure that joke will age like milk, hot milk. Go ahead.
All right. So someone starts laughing and he freaks out. He's like, "What's so funny?" And it's just a baby laughing. And now he's made the baby cry. And he's like, "Oh, it's just you. What are you so happy about?" Makino picks up
Don't
the
yell
baby.
at babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's yelling at baby. You elected this man?
What's the Phil Ken 7
Is
thing?
this
Ed?
your king?
There's some corruption going on. He's not getting reelected.
Shake hand, kiss baby. Kiss hand, shake baby.
Yeah. What's the movie where the politician grabs the baby when there's the shooting on stage? This is
Dead Zone with Christopher Walken. And
yes,
Martin
yeah.
Sheen?
That's his Dead Zone
What?
moment.
Yeah.
What a cut.
Tremendous death scene in that movie. Anyway, but Makino picks up the baby and says, "You can't help but be worried about Garp, though. Little ones learned to recognize Luffy recently." And she sort of gives him a tender look right in the baby's eyes there. And we see on the bar there's a newspaper with Luffy's face on it, and Makino is doing a little bit of baby talk and says, "You love Big Brother Luffy, don't you?" And yeah, and baby's being cute, and Dodon in the background is there as well, and Dogura and Magra are there too.
Do we know the color hair of this baby? I don't ask that for any
We
particular
do not,
reason.
because he has not appeared in the animation yet.
Nope.
Has he
Yes,
not?
he has. Oh, he hasn't? Oh, yeah, because it was a cover story.
It's a cover story.
Well,
yeah.
no, they must have cut around to her though. Hold on,
I don't think so.
because
We don't have to wait for Sam to look this up.
How do we not know this?
It's One Piece. I'm going to assume it's pink.
I'm
It's
looking at a
pink hair.
screenshot, and it has Makino's green hair.
Oh, so it's not red. It's not red hair. He's
And
not
in the
a...
official. Well, hold on.
So it's Bartolomeo's child.
yeah.
It's getting more complicated.
Bartolomeo is from the
the-
East Blue.
He is, yeah.
Oh, this is a bad image, but like the official digital colored edition, it's like brown.
Oh.
Okay, that doesn't
That's
really answer
boring.
anything.
Green and red does kind of make brown.
Pretty sure that's Zoro's kid. It's got green hair.
Oh, wow, Zoro
that's
with
odd.
Makino? That's... oof, didn't have that shipped, but okay.
So Dodon, also reading out of the newspaper, says, "Garp, Luffy, what do you think you're doing?" And we go, "Huh? What the?" But something starts to happening, and so you flash to each of the four seas, and we see in East Blue, someone's in Logtown. They're shouting, "It's an earthquake!" And in South Blue, there's a big tsunami. Get to the high ground, and we get some Oda boxes, and they say, "The earthquake on this day had no parallel in recorded history. It caused destruction on a vast, worldwide scale." Yeah. So yeah, every sea is shooketh by this earthquake.
I like it. But
Yeah.
there are hidden things here. The first one's in Logtown, it says in English. There's a panda man under the leather jacket guy's armpit.
I need to look it up, but I was also hoping the young girl in the back of what looks like her father was the kid that dropped the ice cream on Smoker.
Oh, I wonder. That
That's
was
the only
blonde
character.
hair.
Isn't
Her
it?
hair wasn't dark.
No,
that's
that's
a
a
manga
manga
character.
She's
Oh,
in the
that's,
manga.
that is a
manga.
manga character. Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't Panda Man like that was one of the things that he kind of stopped doing because of his eyesight for a while?
right. So, Steven, didn't you and Greg talk about that in your SGS last week? A little bit.
What was that? I was distracted by what appears to be fake Nami on the. in the
That's what
corner.
I
Yeah,
was thinking.
yeah, the
I was
whole
gonna
time.
mention that. Yeah.
Sorry,
no.
what were you asking me?
No, Greg, I remember said like the test of whether his eyesight came back is if we'll see
As
more
if he
Panda
draws
Men.
Panda Man. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
so,
You did say that.
yeah.
Yeah, there he
so-
is.
There he is.
Cool.
Things are looking good. I think that's Kano Kingdom in
Yes.
West Blue.
And that is Gatherin, or not Gatherin. What's with the Uklisha? That's her
what's-
name.
that's it.
Uklisha is
Yeah.
the
Former fiance
Yes.
to what's his face? Sai.
Yes, former ex-fiance to Sai. That's why Sai's leaving the country. It's just too much drama for him there. North Blue,
That's
we
just
don't
the bridge
know.
like waving, like rumbling from the quake.
Yeah, because of it's so strong, I suppose.
If it like at a glance, it looks like the kind of like decorations you see in like Ryugu Palace and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Kano
it's
is
just
China.
it's more
Yeah.
China.
It's China. Yeah.
I'm just
Wasn't also North Blue where where Frankie was? Baltimore or Baltimore?
Baltimore? Oh.
Yeah, that could be Baltimore. It was snowy.
Yeah, and it
was
also has
futuristic.
like, it has like industrial
Smokestacks and
looking
stuff,
stuff.
Yeah.
It could be. I don't know where South Blue is supposed to be. You don't get any hints other than a woman running away from a tsunami. Anyway, Bryan.
So then we cut to more continuous destruction. We have the Grand Line with Laboon. At the Grand Line wall. Yeah, thank you. And then the continuation with the narration is, try to do it, Ed. The epicenter was impossible to pinpoint, making it the most anomalous. Sorry, thank you. Old. Anomalous seismic event.
Did you read it as Among Us?
Yes.
Wait, that's the opposite of being old.
Or
That's literally
Amogus.
That's literally being young.
Yeah.
I'm
The
young
fact
and
that you
old
thought.
at the same time.
Yeah, I
Again,
know
you
how you
revert
did
to like your baby state.
A very sus seismic event.
So we get Hina,
Seismic,
but no
you could
Django.
say.
It's too bad.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point. And perhaps it was unrelated, but the earthquake happened just 6 days after the vanishing of the kingdom of Lululisa.
Sorry, I
So-
have to go back to Django. I think Django was with everyone. Didn't we see him just recently with the Garp stuff?
Yeah,
Or
he
am
was
I-
at the punching bags.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it
Battleship
was.
bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so maybe he could have been here. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, but I mean that was at Marine headquarters, and we don't know where Hina is. She should be with her.
Or at a Marine headquarters. We actually really don't know which Marine.
It
headquarters.
looks-
It
The
looks like
battleship bags are the
headquarters.
original Marine headquarters on the.
Well, that's
original
G1
Paradise.
now. Yeah.
They could
Yeah.
be at the same base. He could just be somewhere else in the base.
Yeah, it's a big base. And Momonosuke you mentioned, right?
Yes, Momonosuke and Iceberg with Tilestun and Lulu are also in
I
Water
think-
7.
Super interesting Water 7 here specifically, and Laboon, which I'm sure we'll talk about more later.
And then also Impel Down prisoners are freaking out. They're going like, "What's going on, man?" Inside their cells. We also have a side of people running away from a giant tsunami wave. Say, "Climb the hill now!" And like another group of even celestial dragons are kind of freaking out in all their like gorish fucking hideousness. And then shot of Emu also shaking with the rumbling. And then we cut to, I guess, correspondence with Navy Marines who are at sea. They say, "I'm here at the remains of Lululisa Kingdom. There's no trace of the land anymore. Just an enormous hole in the sea that waterfalls are pouring into.
Yeah.
Any further approach is impossible. There is no sign of the hole filling up."
Okay.
And then we cut to a narration that says the earthquake caused by the worldwide sea level to rise by about 1 meter. And we see this giant shot of a hole next to
Okay,
a ship,
Brian.
which looks, I cannot but mention the hole. And the hole looks to be about the size of Ennis Lobby.
Brian,
Yes.
before we get to that very important point, I'm regretting saying this already, but do you think this hole was caused by Uranus?
No, absolutely. This is one of the last weapons we haven't gotten any idea.
It's the only one we haven't seen. Uranus is certainly a weapon.
Yeah, we all know the Uranus and the hole are like synonymous with each other. You have to pass through Uranus to get to the hole.
I've never seen an anus make a hole though.
Okay, it's not called anus. Let's not throw things into the gutter here. It's called Uranus.
Oh, you guys are talking about. Oh my god, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, you should be embarrassed. It's embarrassing for all of us.
Yeah, we're all embarrassed by the hole.
Ed, back to the actual real stuff that you wanted to talk about with Ennius Lobby? Or was that just commenting that it was...
Yeah,
Ennius Lobby?
it looks like Enni's Lobby. Where else have we seen this
100%.
before? Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a long-standing theory that the hole that never fills up in Ennis Lobby was caused by an ancient weapon, and this is almost confirming.
Yeah, it's a familiar hole.
Yeah, it's not familiar hole.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the next page.
I mean, we also,
Come on.
Wait,
Iceberg and the shipwrights and Momonosuke
That's
are also
true,
here
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
We mentioned that.
I feel like we need to take a second to acknowledge that these poor celestial dragons, first they had their food supply taken away, and these
Now
like
big
really
scary
mean
earthquake.
rebels have been coming in and bullying them, and now this. Like, they're really having it rough these days.
Oh yeah, we should pity them.
They're getting-
Like, where else are the golden parachutes gonna come
I'm pretty
from?
sure that's what Oda's trying to invoke out of us, right?
Let's
The
just take
earthquakes
all the
jiggled them to
celestial
have burpees.
dragons and put them in the hole.
We're sending them down the hole.
Thank you.
Basically doing it like, this is made for me.
There's the episode title.
Oh, the hole was made for them. Yeah.
We definitely made that title already, but yes.
Oh yeah, with Kaido.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of sending our love down the well?
Yeah.
Sending our rich down the well.
hole.
Yeah.
I fear seeing the cover art for this episode.
Me too. And I know Vero is hard at work. Next, we head to Kamabaka as we learn that it triggered the tsunami and earthquake, triggered the loss of several beaches. And you see someone at Kamabaka saying, what in the world's going on here? The beach has never been flooded like this before. This tide will ebb eventually, right? And as we continue the Oda box, that it around the world as well as several islands, several beaches have been lost. One of the Kamabaka citizens angry because they were supposed to run on that beach, and I will leave the comments up to others. As we move on to where we don't know where this is, as someone. Palm-treed island with a single karst sticking into the sky saying, the flooding's so bad we have nowhere to live, and a shark swam right into my house just in time for Shark Week. And, which is why that happened. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. That's a Zaslav thing, you know? I don't even know why I'm promoting that, you know? Don't watch it.
No, that's Amazon douchebag.
No, I think Shark Week is Discovery.
Yeah, Shark Week is Discovery. Yeah.
Yeah, don't watch it. But you know, we're getting enough sharks here going into random guy's house. We have reports. Yeah, Donny.
Is it Long Ring Longland? I don't think it is, but it's
No.
the first place I thought about with this whole flooding thing
Same.
about being wiped out.
You know, it's funny. When I reread that whole arc, I recognized that the Long Ring Longland flooding cycle matches Aqua Laguna, and they're right next to each other. So it's like that's what Oda was doing.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, wow. But that's
Yeah.
why I
Right.
immediately jumped and thought these might be the nomads, but I don't remember palm trees on Long Ring Longland.
No, it's probably not Long Ring Longland.
I will say, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it at the end, this chapter made me think more about tides and the water cycles in One Piece than I have ever thought about them before.
Hey, Zach,
which is-
you can't explain it. Tides go in, tides go out.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
Sometimes you create a giant hole, and instead of water going down, it goes up.
Brian, literally my title on the show is a moon conspiracy theorist, and I have to be the one to say it's the moon that's doing the tides.
Apparently not in One Piece.
Well, not
it does-
exclusively.
And you know, Donnie mentioned Long Ring Longland, and while it's not specific, it does say, you know, the world lost several islands that were very low, and like literally 1 meter is probably enough based on what we saw, because that island was completely flat. At least the one of them that the arc took place on. So
and that's beachfront property. You can just sell your homes.
yeah.
Tonjit's dead. You heard it here first.
To sell them to Aquaman.
Didn't Chonjit walk? Oh no, that was to get from to the other island.
Yeah.
By the way, just to put a meter is around 3 feet for those of us in the United States. The average rate of rising here, which we all know this is happening, is like a tenth of an inch, I think, a year. So a meter is a lot. That's apparently, according to the EPA, that's what's been happening since 1993. So that's a pretty terrifying level of flooding. Anyway, enough about the real world. Let's get back into the dire situation happening in both the real world and this world. As we find out.
So like, where's that? So that's just the water being displaced. Like the water isn't sinking into the hole, or it's going back into the. So
part of it is a tsunami, which could be caused by like a major explosion in the ocean could cause that. I mean, an asteroid could cause that, for example, or meteorite, or an earthquake. And I think it was the result of those. It is weird how did the whole world have their water? How did the water rise?
I'm curious.
The world?
I'm curious about what
question.
the whole is.
Yeah.
Because if it was just negative space, the water would fill it, right?
Exactly.
It's a very good question that we don't know the answer.
When you destroy an island, the water level should go down because there's a big hole.
Yeah.
Right.
But it doesn't.
So the question is there something invisible occupying that space? Or is it that the water is for whatever reason the hole is unfillable, so the water is just going down to the Earth's core and disintegrating?
But then it should be
so
going
it's
down.
a
It's like
mystery
reverse-
hole.
Oh my god.
Some kind of like reverse sea stone. It's like the anti-ocean
Yeah.
essence.
Like there's a couple of answers that Oda could go with, and he'll probably go with none of them that any of us think about. But the fallacy in this is wrong word. The problems in the tides rising instead of lowering is obvious. So I think Oda has thought this through.
Yeah, and it feels too consequential not to have like a real answer.
Yeah, especially because he did this with Innie's lobby. Like, this has been set up already.
This might tie into the entire construction of the One Piece world. Like the fact that there are a bunch of islands kind of connected to a magnetic current. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why is that? Why is that the case?
It's the world. We don't question these things. We just accept it.
Sure.
I hear Brian. And then we see back at Windmill Village, even though it's not high tide, the tide is huge. And there's a fisherman there. Hey, maybe I could catch a fish in this. And someone yells at the fisher person saying, don't you dare sail out in this. As Whoopslap was thinking, wonder what Garp is thinking about this. As we, I assume that's what he's thinking. As we head, that is a 15-year-old joke. I apologize. As we head to the future island Egghead in the New World, do we know who's saying this? I think just Navy people. That water levels are rising around the world. What could it mean? As the Oda box continues, that a naval summons brought a nation-sized fleet that far outclassed even the Buster Call. The island was completely surrounded by a group of 100 ships, including 20 massive battleships. Their crew totaled 30,000 sailors. In the background, we see the full fleet approaching Egghead. We see a mecha giraffe attacking one of the boats. Love it. And we see the mecha giraffe at the end of its days getting attacked by Kizaru. Who's next here? Donny.
Yep. We turn the page and the Oda box continues saying, leading this unprecedented military force was a group of 9 vice admirals and Admiral Kizaru. And then you see on the sea, you have correspondence from Sentomaru who's yelling, hey, I told you not to attack the sea beasts. And then the Marines, or possibly Kizaru, yelling, but it attacked us first. And then you see a panel of a bunch of the 9 vice admirals. We see, I believe that's Doll.
Yes.
That's her name? Doll.
Doberman.
That's Doberman. I was like, the Scar guy I know. I just don't remember his name. And then
Buster Call in this
bunch of other randos.
A bunch of ones that I don't think that all look new to
Donny,
me.
I think you should
Vice
probably...
Admiral Hogan.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to say. Donny, can you give us some names? What do you think their names are?
Well,
This toothy guy looks familiar.
the toothy guy.
And the guy with the
He
double...
just looks like a human-sized like oars or something.
The quadruple chin guy?
The quadruple
definitely
chin
was
guy-
in an earlier chapter.
He was.
He
Oh.
was?
What?
Yeah,
I count
let me
at
find
least
it.
6 chins.
I am 100% sure because I have made a joke about this guy, and I remember that.
I thought all of these folks except Doll and Doberman were new or fairly new.
They are, except I think that guy, he shows up like in an exact situation like this. Like, here's a bunch of random people. I'm pretty sure. I'll try and find it.
Interesting.
It's Vice Admiral Patty Melt.
Yeah. And then we have Vice Admiral Hogan, as we said, Vice Admiral Tooth Decay or whatever, and like Subaru 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Very good.
and then other ones.
What about Wrench Head?
Yeah, what is going on?
I have no idea what's happening there.
Yeah, Oda does it again with these.
Yeah,
it looks like pincers or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Like the top 4 of Doberman, Doll, and Hogan, and the other like, oh, these are the most normal designs, and then the bottom 5
in One
are
Piece.
just One Piece, except that dude in the middle who kind of a smile like he's trying to like not stand out, be like, no, I fit in. I'm part of this group.
At first, I thought
like
that
Theo
was
Brando.
Yeah.
At first, I thought that was I think Rear Admiral Kadar, who was in the the Fishman Island flashback with Hody, not Hody. God damn, I can't. Fisher Tiger. Yeah, but they have different eyebrows. I checked. I looked it up, so it's probably not the same person. But yeah, all these designs are fucking nuts. I love them.
They're
They
great.
are nuts.
Oda knocks it out again with like, here, look at these weirdos, and then we get a da-doom, and then we go over to back to Kizaru, who's eating noodles, just sitting on a barrel. We get a name introduction of Navy Admiral Kizaru Borsellino, just to give us a little reminder, and then he's
Don't love this font.
Yeah, it's a little hard to
read. The fonts they've been using, and I know it's not Steven or Viz. These are in the original, right, Steven?
Yeah.
They suck for the most part.
I think the original recipe was fine. We don't need to mix it up.
Yeah, I don't get why he's doing this now.
They're playing around with their wingdings and their goth New Roman. Just let them have fun.
And then he's talking over a transponder snail to Sentomaru and saying, well, you're putting us in a rather sticky situation here, Sentomaru. Could you just surrender and come back over here?
Sorry.
Finish it,
That's
Zach.
what I call a
Finish
sticky
it.
situation.
Okay. And the next time you try that, old man, we're attacking. And he does his trademark, and then goes, how scary. Punk developed the Pacifista's lasers after studying your powers. And we get a little flashback of tiny Sentomaru, young Borsellino, and young Vegapunk is with Borsellino just shooting a laser into the sky.
What's great about that Borsellino, it's like the more adult or teenage version of how he drew him as Oda drew him as a child.
Yeah. And just Sentomaru being like, wow, cool. And Sentomaru being like, never thought you'd come to eliminate him one day. With Borsellino just responding, studying the Void Century is a crime. Even I can't defend Sentomaru. I'm just another cog in the machine. So he can't do anything. He's just following orders. What a good soldier.
He's a villain.
What a great thing for people to say.
But Donnie, good soldiers follow orders.
Yeah, I'll get into it in our wrap up, but this sums up my feelings I've always had for Kizaru. Just that one panel.
He is a villain, so you know.
Yeah,
He's a complicated man.
He just does whatever.
He isn't.
He's a villain, but he's being pragmatic here too. Like he's basically saying, I can't go against the entire weight of the rest of the Navy. Right.
It's because you don't believe in anything.
No, it's the only person who understands him is his woman.
I feel like that's pretty relatable, though, to feel like the system is too big for you to be able to actually make a dent in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a guy from The Wire right now.
Even Garp operates that way, for sure.
Not to say that that's something to aspire to, just that that's kind of relatable to get into that headspace.
It's kind of where like Aokiji was like before he was like re-radicalized.
Yeah, but
That's probably why he
Aokiji.
left.
Yeah, I'll get
Aokiji is
into
now
it when
fighting
we sum stuff
alongside
up.
Blackbeard, so I don't know.
It's probably just sees Blackbeard as an opportunity to change.
I agree.
Yeah.
We've also all had awful jobs, and hopefully we're the Kuzan in that situation. But sometimes some of us are the Kizaru.
Yeah, and then also some of us are the Shakazukis.
Oh, no one wants. Yeah, I hate the Sakazukis.
Which one of us is the Sakazuki?
Me.
I think we know the answer to that. Wow, that
Volunteered.
was quick.
Okay.
Okay. Was there more? Sorry, Donnie.
No, that's the that was the end of the page, and we turn.
Sam.
You turn the page, and Kizaru is saying, "This isn't a battle we want to have either. The more we destroy, the more we lose." It seems like Rob Lucci and his cohorts failed to complete their mission. And then Sentomaro is responding, yeah, because of Straw Hats. And you've got this, cutaway to one of the pacifistas. Back on the battleship, we have Mr. J. Garcia Saturn, Godhead of Defense. He's eating a baguette on a fork.
I thought it was a sausage.
Could be
I
a
think that's
pretzel
a
roll.
sausage.
I guess, yeah.
Ooh, pretzel rolls
Anything-
are great, but so I don't think he
with
would
it.
have it.
I like the read of it being a baguette, though. That makes
Yeah,
it
'cause
somehow more weird and evil.
Oh, it's like the
How large
Seinfeld.
is he like a normal sized person, or is
He's
like,
a little bigger
He looks
than that.
normal, yeah, normal-ish. I will
I
say
feel
it's
like
like
we don't really know until we see like another person stood in the foreground with him.
I feel
We
like
have to
he's
look
at
at
a
them.
table with people in the background, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Well,
can
like
compare
it's
his
hard to
height
judge like distance.
No, you're right.
Yeah, but you can compare his height to the chapter where Cobra was assassinated.
that's
You
true.
see him standing there.
It's like the Seinfeld episode where Mr. Pitt eats Snickers with a fork and knife, and how that's the equivalent here. Again, 7 people out there understand that reference. Please go ahead.
Jay Garcia is saying, "Don't let them figure out that I'm here." And the Marines are like, "Yes, sir." Straw Hat crew barricades itself with Vegapunk as prisoner. I like this article. Morgan's work, right? And then he asks, "So what's the truth then?" I know.
Without missing a beat.
Right.
He's appreciating the workmanship of the propaganda,
That's right.
but seeing through it nonetheless. And Doberman is responding, "We have not received the mission complete report from CP0 yet. Given that Sentomaro is still defending the island, we can be certain that the Labo phase is currently hosting Dr. Vegapunk's Stella and 6 satellites, the 4 Seraphim protecting them." We're getting the icons, the little Oda Chibi dot eyes.
Finally. Been waiting for these forever.
Yeah, so
No one else.
The Labo phase is currently hosting Dr. Vegapunk's Stella, which is the main one, the 6 satellites, the 4 Seraphim that are protecting them, the 10 members of the Emperor Straw Hat's crew, whom we believe to be allied with him. We get the group shot of the Straw Hats, as well as the agents in the lead force, Rob Lucci, Kaku, and Stussy from CP0.
Well, not one of them, but Hattori's there.
Hattori's there.
That's great. Just a little blob.
The rank and file cipher pull agents.
I love to see which ones he draws smiling. Like everyone in the Straw Hat crew is smiling except for Zoro.
Stussy
I
is
guess
smiling. Well,
Stussy's happy to be there.
Kaku is just completely flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob Lucci is no smile on that guy.
Kaku is completely flat is correct. Just like his nose.
It's fine. Little Seraphim, Mihawk, and Boa Hancock are smiling.
Yes. They're just happy to be here.
Shaka's grinning. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Stussy's telling
also dead.
Lucci to smile, but he's not having it.
The one stupid other comment I want to add: wouldn't it be great if Doberman just handed like papers with like these little icons to
Yeah. This was
Saturn?
Doberman's drawings.
Yeah, these are his little
spent a
drawings.
lot of time
It's
on
you
this.
like
instead
them?
of the Go board, it's just like little doodles.
Yeah.
But he's been doing these doodles the whole time.
Do you like my doodles, sir?
I've really been practicing my shading.
Look at the cross hatching
Clarity is
here.
incredible.
He's like, oh, it's a
Steven.
good likeness.
Sorry, Steve.
Good. No, I still got one more thing.
Oh, okay.
The rank and file cipher pull agents appear to have been locked up in the Fabrio phase by Sentomaro and his Pacifista Mark III units.
By the way, this is, I will say, kidding aside, this is, I think, one of the more entertaining ways you could recap what happened 10 chapters ago. Because
The more I see the words like Labo phase and Fabrio phase, I feel like they're like the clinical terms for like parts of genitalia.
Oh, I was thinking
We've really got a
medication.
theme in this episode, eh?
Sam, what is happening?
Hole is on the mind. I'm sorry. It's just how it is.
Okay.
Call your
well,
doctor if you have problems with your Fabrio phase.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Bryan in a second, but Steven, did you have something you want to say here? Because I heard you trying to get in before.
No.
Oh, okay, was it with a joke?
Okay.
Bryan, go ahead.
All right. So the parts of Jay Garcia Saturn will be played by Logan Roy, and the part of Dobin will be played by Pee Wee Herman. So, continuing. So the Frontier Dome bear status is at 100%, meaning that nothing can get by in and nothing can get out. It's
What
been
is
an entire
happening?
day. We still don't know what's going on in there. Take a second. So where are the research staff and technicians who work on Egghead? Fuck off. They all evacuated the island yesterday. We've got the coordinates on the ship. Well, and what if they know too much? Sink them and fuck off. Yes, sir.
What are you reading? The scans?
Am I the only person who finished the session? And, yeah. Excuse me. And one more thing. Saint Saturn, the pirate jury body, the glutton, has been sighted on the island. Kuma's daughter? She has no more benefit to us. Leave her there. She's just a girl and fuck off. Understood. And scene.
Before we leave that scene, I wanted to say that it is cool that the Labo phase has the that the 100 actually means the level. I don't think I realized that part.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that before
Yeah.
either. So now I'm gonna have to look back on previous chapters.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
was it ever at 50 or like 40?
Yeah.
You know, Pee Wee Herman would appreciate a lot of whole innuendo. I'm just saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy was just like, he understood his holds.
Paul Rubens or Pee Wee Herman?
Both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah. Big fan of Pee Wee. So
Big fan of holes, I thought is what you were going to say.
Yeah,
I don't like any of this episode. I don't like this episode of the
This is
podcast.
my top 5.
No, it'll grow on you after a little. Once you mature a little bit.
I think the problem is I've matured too much.
Yeah, that's definitely a
Well,
problem.
maturing is realizing that wanting to be mature is immature.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to regress, Zach.
Okay, we're going to talk more about that in the Gear 5 stuff and for the anime. Let's stick with the manga here.
All right,
Bryan,
okay.
what happens next?
Yeah. So next page we have on the outside of Egghead, all the marine ships, and we hear Kizaru. We're picking up a signal coming from Egghead. Ooh. They seem to be placing a call somewhere. Then we get to an insert shot of was it telesponder snail? Wait, sorry.
Transponder.
Yeah, transponder. Thank you. And then we see a shot of Sacred Mary Joa, the outside of that main cathedral. The
Pangea Castle.
Pangea
Castle.
Castle.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then we have a shot of the Marines back on the ship. He's like, "It's Mary Joa." And then we have Kizaru talking to a Marine. He's like, "Admiral, that thing on your wrist, it's a black transponder snail. Oh, you can tap the call."
By the way, this is
that's
literally what happened when we first saw Kizaru, right?
Yep.
It was that he
He
didn't know
hasn't
how
picked it
to
up.
use.
He was
He didn't
using
know how
it
to
to
use the
make a
black-
call and not
Yeah.
tap.
Right,
So we
right.
teach him every time.
Yeah.
2
No,
years later,
he's-
he's just absent-minded.
He's a boomer. That's all it is. He just
Yeah, it's like
doesn't
me
get.
and-
He
like me and
accidentally
Discord.
uses. No, you're not that bad. he uses the technology in ways they weren't meant to be used accidentally.
Why would he need to make a call? He can just teleport and talk to somebody to their face.
Oh,
So
he
it's
is
like when we
the
play,
light. He is
it's
the transmission.
Yeah.
It's like when we play D&D and we have to like re-explain our own powers to each other.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah.
No rules.
And now we get insert shot, which is, I think, this is the first time we've ever referred to the place where the five elders hang out as the Hall of Power.
No,
No,
I
that-
think
That
yeah,
appeared
we've had
before,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm just blank on that. Yeah,
That should
so
also be
inside the
read
Hall of-
like Super Friends. I feel like.
I was thinking of like He-Man.
Okay, that also works.
Yeah. So it's like, "Hello, this is York." It's you. Yeah, this is really messed up. Why are you trying to kill me too?
Steven.
And
See.
we go to the next page, whereas one of them, oh God, I always forget, even though we know their names
I'll
now.
open it up.
Mars.
I'll open it up.
I always forget the two blonde guys. Which one is?
He's Mars, the long hair.
Mars. Marcus Mars. Yes. Marky
Mars.
Mars.
Mars and the Mars and the Funky Bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Marky
all.
And the guy with the shorter whiskers is Jupiter.
Yeah, Jupiter. Right.
Yes. And so York continues, when you only know about the Stella's betrayal because I told you. And she is, sounding very confident. Although you can notice she does have some signs of a scuffle on her face. So it is characteristic sort of bloody or muddy marks on her cheek.
You see, she had big cheeks to begin with, so it's hard to tell if they're
Yeah.
swollen. Yeah.
Also, could be chocolate.
It could be food.
It could be chocolate. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe she was fighting with her food.
She got into a fight and won, maybe.
With the chocolate.
With the food.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
And Marky Mars here says, but you too are also Vegapunk, York. And she replies, if I had any interest in the Void Century, I wouldn't have told you about this. How dare you? And one of them, as we see, this is actually Ethan Baron V. Nustero, everyone's favorite, says she has a point. And meanwhile, Saturn is on his battleship, is also listening in on his own little transponder snail there, black transponder snail. And Nustero continues. So he says, she has a point. It's good that you survived. Did CP0 reach the island? What are the Straw Hats doing now? And there's this kind of strange, pained silence from York. Don't say that. And she replies, the fact that I'm the only one to contact you after last night should tell you everything. The Seraphim are here. So, she's explaining why it should be obvious, that yes, she's just reporting back in. All is well here. Everything's fine. How are you? And she says, why is this fleet surrounding the island? Are you going to war with me? As the, now, who is this one? Which one? He is...
Wait, I have it open here. He is Top Man Mercury.
Top Man Mercury, yes. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Top Man of the Thomas the Tank Engine fame. Please go ahead.
And Jupiter says, York, we have changed our minds. Are you able to create the Mother Flame too? Yes, eagle-eyed readers did spot, actually, before this chapter came out, we had also... replaced the old chapter where we had it as Mother Frame with Mother Flame. This is kind of this is the main reason why I wanted to make sure I was here today, just so I could explain or acknowledge this here, because if you recall, I'm sure people who have listened to all the episodes will remember that I was very clear to mention multiple times that this was kind of a 50-50 guess on my part, where I thought it could be Mother Frame or Mother Flame. This, of course, is referring to the mysterious weapon, presumably
Uranus.
Possibly.
Maybe.
The thing that made the hole.
Okay, Steven.
So we didn't know for sure what it was going to be. And technically, this chapter does not really give us any extra context, just barely maybe. We don't see it. We don't find out what exactly it is. It's just we know it's this mysterious weapon. But I did get, and I'm going to be kind of discreet here just because I know people tend to run with things like this and make assumptions. So I will simply be discreet because this is not the sort of thing that we can do all the time. And I will say that the question was brought up, the question of is this Mother Frame or is this Mother Flame was brought up, and I received the answer to parties in Japan, and I received the answer from multiple sources that were all in agreement, including from the man himself, that it is referring to flame. So I was like, okay, perfect. That's all I needed to know was what is this going to turn out to be? Because obviously it's the two options do have significantly different interpretations and implications. So I did find that out in the last few weeks, and I was like, okay, next time this comes up in the story, we'll change it. And so this was the instance. So yes, Mother Flame it is. And so York continues. Oh, now you'll play along. Yes, I'm not surprised you want it. I'm glad I sent it to you. Apparently, I'm not sure if that means York or if York is speaking for Vegapunk as a whole. And Workiri says, yes, it is desired. Very strange passive tone there.
Why would you say it like that?
There were ellipses.
And York says, desired by who? Anyway, the power plant that creates it
cuts off herself. This is worse than the Ancient Kingdom thing. I mean, we know the answer to it, so it's not as frustrating to us. But why?
Hey, someone desires to ponder the flame, so have at it.
Yeah, pondering my orb. And York continues. Anyway, the power plant that creates it is on this island. So promise me you won't hurt me or the lab, understood, and make me a celestial dragon. It will be done. And you've got a deal. And the first thing I want you to do is, as we zoom out over the view of the entire island.
Merphy.
Oh. Okay. York crumbles. Her facade is done and she's in full-on tears and she screams, "Come save me before Straw Hat Luffy kills me." Lots of reaction shots from the elders. They're shocked, as well as Kizaru, who says, "What does this mean?" And then we see the full spread of the Straw Hats, plus a couple others, gathered round York. Zoro has his sword to her neck, and they have been forcing her to have this dialogue. She says, "Come quick and clobber them all for me." Nami says, "Ah, now I see how it all fits together." Luffy says, "I don't, but I'm guessing we'll use her as a shield to escape." And Bonnie says, "It's like a damn hostage situation." And Vegapunk says, "So that's what was going on." So they all look awesome. They all look super crazy cool. And turns out that while our head has been turned away to the wider world, they shockingly have dominated.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
I love Vegapunk's posture is like that's a guy who packed his bags and has been waiting to leave like hours.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like the old men.
Yeah.
The old men are already.
Yeah, because Brooke's right next to him, also being like, "Yeah, we're going, right?"
Yeah, he's got his straps on. Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know we missed the first 3 flights, but I really need to get out of here. So.
Meanwhile, Sanji's just
well,
like,
Sanji,
I don't want to
like,
rush you
pancakes?
guys, but
Yeah, or some type of food.
Pancakes, and Jinbei's just chilling on the couch eating. We're like, we don't have to go.
well, yeah,
some of
Sanji's
the
running
crew- some
around
of
with all
crew
the
are
food.
focused.
Well, he's making sure everyone's fed. Like Jiro, Bonnie, and like Luffy and Jinbei are all eating.
Yeah.
Well, Bonnie and
Murphy,
Luffy eat anyway, all the time.
Like
The only
some
person
of
who's
the
not
group
in
are-
here
are
is Robin,
interested in
though.
the conversation.
One at a time. Murphy, did you have anything else you want to say about this page specifically?
I'm mad that Robin isn't here and Lucci is. Did Luffy get confused? Did he mix up his Robs? And he just thinks that this is Robin?
It would be funny because they are literal adversaries.
Yes, Robin isn't here in this page.
My one question, so Bonnie is explaining it to Luffy, I assume, is why she's saying it's like a damn hostage situation.
It is.
I appreciate that Luffy is on the phone with some of the most important people in the world, and he's just like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm having lunch. Like, I appreciate that vibe.
I did want to say my favorite thing, and this goes on for several pages, I think, like 3 pages. Everyone is eating while on the phone here.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Very poor etiquette, guys. Like, don't
Talk
eat.
about that.
And are you eating right now?
No.
Yeah. Anyway, Murphy, what were your thoughts on the chapter?
Oh, I loved it. It was such a good chapter. I have many questions about the Lulasha hole, as we've discussed, and how that affects the world and why it's affecting the world as it is. But I really, really love the fact that it basically confirms what actually happened in Enislavi, and I like the implications of the audacity of the world government to wipe out a civilization, a huge, massive group of people who were opposing them, and then put their justice center on top of it. Like the non-verbal discussion there of we decide justice, you don't. Like, I really, really love that we got out of this chapter without Oda actually having to say it. And I know that the Straw Hats doing everything off page and then we cut back to them and the job's already done has been a little bit controversial, but I personally dig it because we've been without them for so long and this is such an epic panel. And like, I think Oda's gonna just launch us into a flashback anyway, so we're still gonna get to see it. And this was a really great reintroduction for me. And I hope, Robin, because in this chapter, sorry I'm talking a lot, in this chapter...
No, talk as long as you want.
Thank you. Kizaru said, studying the Void Century is a crime even I can't defend. So I really hope that right now Robin is studying the Void Century, and that's why she's not here.
That's a good... So, I mean, who's not here? We know Robin, Kaku, Stussy.
Yeah.
Most of the satellites, I think
that
all of them...
that aren't quote-unquote destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the condition they're in, given everything that's happened. I mean, Shaka did get shot through the face, so I don't know.
And
how that
Edison
works.
got blown up.
Yeah,
but
2 times.
But last we saw Atlas, she got repaired and was.
Oh no, that was
dropped.
Pythagoras. Pythagoras was twice.
Oh, okay.
My point is, Jinbei's really enjoying lunch here or breakfast. I don't know what time of day this is.
That's the conclusion.
It's brunch,
Yeah.
baby.
Oh. Like the fact that they're enjoying brunch. By
What
the
do you
way,
think
Luffy's
Bonnie's
brunch.
eating?
Pizza.
Yeah, that's what I
Really?
thought. Or taco. Could be a taco.
It does look like a-
I need to
Cheesy
zoom in.
taco.
Cinnabon.
Maybe she's
All
eating
right.
the pancake, but it's like New York style.
No, it's like the.
What's New York
Is that-
style pancakes? I don't
Yeah,
know.
you mean like the big, thick, like they have the Japanese pancakes that are like, super
Yeah.
fluffy.
Well, yeah, like the ones that Sanji is carrying. Like she just grabbed a pancake and then she's folding it like a New York slice.
Oh,
I like that.
Yeah, Bonnie really embodies the city of New York. I appreciate
She
it.
really
I think
does.
Frankie.
The big
She
guy.
does.
Like I think Frankie's like eating hamburgers.
Yeah, because there's
Yes, you can see in the
there's
corner.
fries and then a cup that says Mega Cola near.
No,
Vegapunk.
it says Vega,
Vega
Cola.
Cola.
Oh, it's Vega
Yeah.
Cola.
That's the
I'm
big-
zoomed
can't
in.
zoom.
That's
Oh, okay.
That's why. No, I do want to say Bonnie's attitude and general demeanor and eating so much that it's very New York. I think the full package. She might be my favorite character now. Anyway, let's see. Sam, your thoughts on the chapter?
I really sort of appreciate I guess the mystery and like just like how effective of a like a weird like this gap in the world of like these holes, like the Enies Lobby hole and now this one, and like the Enies Lobby. I'll just call it the gap for now because I'm getting tired of saying hole.
Embrace the whole. We all got them.
Oh no.
Okay, I can't.
Like that was one of those things where it's like I kind of just accepted it as just kind of a weird, quirky characteristic of the environment. And like over the years, I've seen people theorize about like why it might be like that, and I thought like, oh yeah, there probably would have to be a reason that comes up. Just kind of like interesting that like when we're seeing like these super long game elements that like Oda planted there and like didn't draw attention to, and now like the sudden realization that it's like, oh, we do have to get answers to that. Like that's key to like how major pieces of the world connect. Like there's this like kind of like aura to that. There's this just this gravity of seriousness to this thing that I had not spent much time thinking about at all, which is exciting. We're kind of like just sort of in plot maneuvering mode right now. We're crossing our T's and dotting our I's and reminding us of like what the Straw Hats are up to. The final spread, I feel like I would like that spread more if it didn't feel so similar to like there's a couple spreads in like Punk Hazard that are
It is a little, yes.
composed in a very similar way.
Yeah.
I actually have one on my wall right now. I know which the Smoker Law Luffy one.
Yeah,
I
has
see
that
what you
energy.
mean.
It feels like, I mean, although this feels like a very Punk Hazard-esque
Arc,
it's-
yeah.
as it is.
I mean,
I
it
would
makes
almost
sense.
make
It was
it a continuation of Punk Hazard in many ways.
what I mean.
Right,
Everything
yeah.
is so intertwined with each other at this point.
Yeah,
in the
that's
story.
true. That's interesting. Like this is
They're both
this is
Vegapunk's
an extension of the Punk
They're,
Hazard
they're
arc.
both
Yeah.
science arcs too. Like Punk Hazard was like experimental weapon science, and this is like future technology island.
or past.
Yeah, true.
And depending on how things go, it could be the creation of a second Punk Hazard.
Very fair. Yeah, if they just like light this place up.
Yeah.
Looking that way so far. Any other thoughts, Sam?
Not too many specific thoughts. Just kind of like I'm interested in where it's going.
That's good.
What Borzolino? What does he know about the Void Sentry that he even has like a position on?
I think he's just doing his job. Like he just knows that is
there's
forbidden.
doing his job, but then there's like editorializing, like what he said. Studying the Void Sentry is a crime even I can't defend, Sentomaru. So I think Kizaru would normally be a guy who's like, well, I can see it from this angle. I can see it from this angle. I'll do what I have to do, but like I'm gray area. I consider multiple sides regardless of like and my personal feelings are divorced from my actions.
Yeah, I mean,
necessarily.
Kizaru specifically has a close personal relationship with Vegapunk and Sentomaru, so I think him in particular in this scenario, this is more personal than it would be otherwise, I think, for him. And so I think that's part of why he's saying, like, even I can't, help you on this one.
Yeah, like use my
he
status.
would be lax on Vegapunk in other situations.
Perhaps, yeah.
But then is that because he knows something we don't about the Void Sentry, or
I
like,
really
I don't
think
think
it's
he knows.
what
No.
the importance of it, or does he just know that like that's like the mega top level?
it's the taboo.
That-
My,
Yeah,
my
he-
bosses will have my head if I.
He knows
don't do something
enough
about
to know
this.
not to know, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what-
he's lazy justice, which means like
No, he's
Vegapunk-
gray
Well,
area
Aokichi was lazy,
justice.
though.
Yeah, Aokichi was lazy.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
I will say I believe it was Iceberg, but a lot of stuff in Water 7 they like mentioned that's what Robin was doing. It's not that they knew why it was bad. Everyone just knew that is a taboo that is not broken in this world. That is
That's
you
like
get
the whole
you
like,
get
follow
fucked. Well, I mean that's kind of what O'Hara was supposed to be. It's an example to the world that if you do this is what is going to happen to you. Sam, anything else?
That more or less doesn't.
Okay, Donnie.
Yeah, I really dug this chapter. First, the pacing of kind of showing the overall ramifications it has on the whole world of when you just wipe an island off the map. Like I like that Oda's showing us that it's not just, oh, yep, it's gone and there's no island there. That it literally,
Yeah.
you punched a hole in the world and that's going to affect and show that kind of to me, that shows the government throwing around this power of just erasing what they want. It's damaging the world and they're doing it kind of with reckless abandon because they literally like not
I
only
thought
wiped
Sabo
one
was
island
there.
off the they
That's
not
why
only
they did it,
wiped
right?
yeah, but they not only wiped one island off the map, doing that then literally wiped other islands off the map with the flooding and everything, several more islands. So it's just kind of, they did it being like, oh, we gotta erase
Also,
Sabo, and like kind of not thinking the ramifications, or maybe they knew that
Yeah, also
this
real
hurts the
quick.
world, but whatever.
they didn't know Sabo was there. It was just a coincidence. Emu already picked the island.
Oh,
before.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you were right. Yeah. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
And so it kind of just shows it I like, because it's like we already know they're evil and do it with reckless abandon, but showing like really what they're doing and how it literally affects the world without people even knowing that. And then as we tied it in with Innie's lobby, what Merphy said, I didn't even think about that, of being like, yeah, we erased an island and then put our like center of justice on top of that as like a symbolic forever screw you, where justice, like, it says a lot. And then getting more into just then back in the Punk Hazard, Borsalino, who I know he's always gray area, and I talked about. This panel is why I personally think, and let me say this because this is going to be a little contentious, I think he's worse than Akainu, because Akainu's a bastard. We know Sakazuki is a bastard, but he's a bastard with convictions who truly believes his awful stuff and, like, stands behind it, where, like, Kizaru he doesn't stand for anything. He's a cog in the machine who knows he's a cog and is just going along with it. And I understand the whole, like, with Garp, like, feeling powerless, but I see him different than Garp, or Garp I see as someone who's, like, feel like I can't change the whole system, so I'm going to do the best I can within that system. And you see he often did stuff all the time.
Garp turned down the role of Admiral. Garp turned down the role of Admiral because he didn't want to work for the Celestial Dragons.
Garp had a ton of things where it was like, oh, if it wasn't Garp, he would get in so much trouble for this because, like, he didn't fully play by the rules. And I see Kizaru as just like, yep, I'm a cog. I'm fine being a cog. Point me at a thing. I'll go take care of it. I don't really have convictions, even if I know this is a gray area.
Yeah, Kizaru is basically the banality of evil.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's just like, you know you're a cog. You don't even have the defense of, like, you truly believe in this justice like Sakazuki, who's still awful. I'm not defending Sakazuki. He's a bastard.
Oh,
but
finally,
it just
someone defending Sakazuki.
but it makes me just, like, even more frustrated with Kizaru, especially, like, being like, oh, just another cog. It's like, you have power. You literally not, and I don't mean just like devil fruit. You're made of light. That's incredibly powerful. But just like, you even have power and status within, and it's like, nope, I'm just a cog. Like, I don't buy that. I don't buy that you couldn't change even a little.
I don't want to get into a philosophical debate, but I feel, I mean, personally, I feel like the person whose entire philosophy is to harm, let's just keep it general, to harm other people is scarier because they're the ones who are kind of perpetuating the evil, or whatever it might be, versus the cog, who I think it's scary on a level that it reflects humanity. And, like, so, you know, I feel like, not to get to such a dark place, but the Holocaust is a very good look at, like, these people did it because it was their job. And that is scary because it reflects on humanity, that if put into this situation, would an average person, would an ordinary person be susceptible to doing these kind of evil deeds?
Or just turn away when it's happening all around you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's specifically why the cog in the machine line is creepy. I still think Sakazuki is doing the greater evil.
He's doing the greater evil.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what
but at least you know where he stands, where it's a Kizaru, you look at him, it's like, you don't stand for anything.
Yeah, at least you know when he points a gun at you, he intends to shoot you. You don't know what Kizaru is going to do because he'll do as he's ordered.
Yeah, I mean, looking no further than just, like, how systems of capitalism or even, like, slavery operates. Like, you need people to even understand. It's like, just to say this is the way things are and don't challenge it.
Yeah,
that's it's the evil of society.
It's actually kind of cool now that I think about it that, like, the pacifistas, which are these robotic soldiers they build, use his power. Him being, in my mind, the first robotic soldier, not being a robot. He's the one who's just the cog. I'm the weapon to throw at you. And I don't know if Oda was trying to get this hashtag deep about it, but I see the similarity of he's just like, yep, I'm just as much like he and the pacifistas are very similar. The only difference is he likes to eat noodles.
Hey, you don't know what the pacifistas enjoy. Anything else, Donny? I think that's a really good point.
The final spread, I actually do love this reveal. I think this is a great way to reintroduce the Straw Hats. I like the bait and switch, even though with the whole stuff with York, I didn't fall for the bait and switch. On a reread, I totally got, like, I was trying to sell that, like, York's trying to sell that I have everything in control, and I didn't pick up on that before when I was just reading through during breakfast. But, like, on a reread, I like of just the bait and switch of being like, yeah, you haven't seen the Straw Hats for ages. They got it under control. Of course they do. And I understand being frustrated, being like, oh, I didn't see what they did, but it's the Straw Hats. Like, they got it.
Yeah.
Well, probably.
Like-
I think we're gonna get a flashback too. We're still gonna see it. Oda just wanted to reintroduce us to the Straw Hats in a really awesome, epic way.
Mm-hmm. And I like it. I like because they've done, like we said, it is like Punk Hazard, but I do like the twist of it is a hostage situation where and the Straw Hats are criminals in this world. So I like that we're getting a scenario where, yeah, they're in a bunker down place with basically the SWAT team outside calling in, being like, please come out with York, or we'll have to go in. So I like that it's like a hostage situation. We haven't really gotten that in One Piece.
Donnie, the funny thing is the headline that that Saturn was saying, Straw Hat Crew barricades itself with Vegapunk as prisoner, is actually true from Big News Morgans.
Yeah. Just put that
because,
together.
I mean, it's just the wrong Vegapunk. But, I mean, they don't, who knows? York is still Vegapunk. I think that's really funny. It's, what is that, dramatic irony, I think?
Yeah.
Steven, thoughts?
Yeah, the thing about the last page that I don't think anyone else has compared it to this yet, but it reminded me a lot of when we come back from, I think it's Oden's flashback, where we went in thinking like, oh my God, like there's no ships. Where's the straws? Where is everybody? It's all a disaster. And then when you come back, you just come back to them like showing up out of nowhere. And then Luffy does the, when you're at sea, you fight against pirates. So I do think it echoes that a lot of like, a dramatic, surprising, triumphant return to the Straw Hats. And I agree with Merphy. I do think that we'll probably see it. It won't require a lot of telling probably, but I do think that he could give us a pretty quick summation of how they, got out of their situation. Other than that, I would say like of course the One Piece manga does not have recap episodes the way that an anime series can have recap episodes, but I do feel like this is like as close to that as you can get, where it's kind of restating a lot of context for you, and there is new information that's being revealed, of course, but it's not it's not being like driven by a central character or set of characters that are doing things. It's sort of like, here's what's happening around the world, and as we see this and that, and then it kind of steadily hones in on Egghead, where we are finally we finally get to see the Straw Hats again as the story turns back to them. So I do think it is kind of elegant at doing that. I think that it's a good way to kind of whet the audience's appetite as far as like, ooh, what does this mean? What's the deal with the earthquake and the rising sea level? Well, we can probably assume that they are related to the use of the weapon, but it's not, you kind of have to connect the dots and make assumptions. I like the way that he did that. And I mean, more than anything, I'm just like, yeah, let's get back to Egghead. Let's see what happens next with the Straw Hats, and what shocking thing is going to happen that makes headlines around the world, that sort of thing. I'm very curious now.
Bryan.
So I haven't been on there a while, so it's nice that I get to fill my like gaping One Piece hole with all the information.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
But like, to finally get the confirmation for like 17 years of having that gaping hole in the plot about like Enies Lobby filled up with now the context of that, the Mother Flame being the weapon that causes the hole that fill.
If you say
you're really trying.
Yeah. I think this chapter is great, not just because of the hole that it fills in my heart from after 17 years of not knowing what caused the hole in Enies Lobby, and Never Night. That's the other thing we don't know about Enies Lobby, because everyone forgets it's a Never Night island. I'm like, what the fuck causes that?
Yeah, because the planet has to rotate. I was mentioning this, I think, in our Discord earlier. How
nice.
is it always the day?
It's always
There are
daytime.
dozens of us.
Yes, there are dozens.
I think it started as Oda just not wanting to make a night scene since like most of Water 7 during Aqua Laguna was all at night. And he's probably like, I'm running out of ink. So it's like, fucking it's daytime all the time.
I feel like there's places in the world that are like always night.
Fishman Island would be because it's.
You mean in the real
No,
world?
our world. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
like
Ennius Lobby's,
Alaska
Ennius
barely
Lobby's on the North
Right.
I
Pole.
was going to say it's on the poles, but the problem is Ennius Lobby's on the Grand Line, so it's in the center of the world.
yeah,
But you're
okay,
right.
fair
No
enough.
way.
If-
That doesn't
yeah.
make sense.
If the One Piece world didn't tilt on its axis for seasonal reasons, which is possible, and was on the poles, or maybe it's like Uranus and it's upside down. You know,
You
Yeah,
also
totally.
have islands that are
the
permanent
daytime
seasons.
thing feels like it's
Well,
got to
yeah,
be
there
tied
are
to
16 seasons in the One Piece world.
Well, typically
Well, no,
most of our roles don't get a lot of sunshine, so that's why that's so unusual.
Brian, if you say the word holes one more time,
Okay, I won't say hole anymore. So the gaping expanse that was left after the mother flame.
Oh,
I really think Brian is just doing this for my face, which he can't even see.
holy, 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 holy.
Again,
But I can
really
feel
not
it's
looking to seeing those drawings.
You got your work cut out for you, but you're good. I trust you. But no, this chapter is great. I was really excited by like opening up and getting back, not only getting back to Straw Hats, which I love, but also getting more context of the fact that this catastrophic event also affected like the entire world, but like because it was so big, nobody really understood what it was about. Everyone just kind of thought it was like a local earthquake, which is fascinating, and also says a lot about the connectivity of like not just the One Piece world, but like our world in itself.
Yeah.
In fact, you can have an earthquake like all the way across the planet. It's basically the butterfly effect. You can have an earthquake across the planet and you still be able to feel it right on the other side. Is like very fascinating.
I mean, to be fair, actual earthquakes and tsunamis
True.
could affect literally
Yeah.
half the planet.
Yeah,
I mean,
at the same
look
time,
no further
Especially
than what
in Japan,
Japan
yeah.
had to go through
Yeah.
in 2011.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
well, or like Krakatoa was like the
Right,
loudest
that's the
noise
one.
ever made, or whatever. Like that's insane to think about.
Yeah,
And
it's
there was
great
the
that he-
one in Tonga a few years ago, which you could see from space, the volcano, and it
Yep.
created tsunami warnings, all the way to Hawaii and Alaska, the entire Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, and it's great that Oda's like including this in his narrative world building because we don't think
Yes.
about the interconnectivity between like the actions based on like people based on climate change and like
Well, they're also-
environmental degradation.
Sorry, Brian, I didn't mean to interrupt.
it's okay.
There also is very little interconnectivity in the world, considering it's unified by a single government. The way the world is laid out, stuff like Little Garden can exist completely out of time and everything else.
Yeah. And I would
yeah.
assume, and it's funny how like these past few chapters we're getting more about like the upper heads of the world government that we've ever had before. Is that their plan is clearly to make sure that things are as separated as possible. But now even their actions are creating more connectivity because they're getting
Essentially,
desperate.
they're developing personalities now as characters.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, I always love
Yeah.
those old men. I'm like, oh, those guys are bastards. I can't wait to find out more about them.
I can't wait to find out why. Yeah. So who's like Kizaru, the five of them, because they seem to be very blindly following whatever Emu says.
Oh, I think they're like straight up the devils. Like the most vicious and corrupt form of humanity that a person can take. I think that's what they are supposed to represent.
Yeah, they're
I mean, that's how they
architects of
showed them to us.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Anything else, Brian?
No, that's it. It's just
Ed.
a matter about like I'm just leaving a void.
Ed.
Yeah, yeah. It's Just the way we figure out we found out about the Ennies Lobby hole. Just the way it affects the entire world is the elders have a lot to answer for, and my longtime theory of the way that the One Piece world, the Four Seas, the Red Line, the Grand Line, something that was created, and there's a reason for that, and it leads to, I think, the cross point, like where Raftel is, or there's got to be some sort of like key or something in that location. And I don't know, the holes, maybe they're related to it, maybe they're not, but yeah, it's yeah, I don't care for really don't care for Borsalino. Kizaru, he just, he stands for nothing but the status quo. Whatever the status quo is, that's somebody else's decision. He recognizes that he has his superiors, and he doesn't have any real desire to question their authority, which is interesting. Like, given like where he came from, sort of this he's dressed simply as a child. It seems to be he didn't grow up wealthy, or and then being experimented on or working with Dr. Vegapunk and with Sentomaru. Just wondering what it would take to make him turn into the guy that he is.
I would assume that like kind of poor upbringing that Oda suggested makes him more strident to maintain the position of power he has.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and like he'll kick down the ladder behind him just as long as he gets to stay as the top position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's also interesting to which characters were chosen, to appear from the past. I was one in like the scene, the big the panel with the hole. We got like Iceberg and Hina and Momonosuke and and Laboon. These are all yeah. It's what happens to the Red Line? It's also
the Celestial Dragons are on. Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
And I just gotta say, Emu was also looking more grimacy and less more cute than they used to.
Oh, look at that little tyrant! Look at him.
Very rounded, and
That's
even
what
they
I'm
shake.
saying. We're supposed to pity them. They're in a rough position right now.
Thank you, Murphy. Finally, someone brave enough to say this.
Yeah. So I do wonder what the implication is, where the Straw Hats are now going to go. They got to break out of Egghead, but where do you go from there? Elbaf or the moon, space, perhaps? There's all sorts of technology here.
Nowhere to go but up.
Yep. Yep. That's my question going forward. Where do the Straw Hats go next?
Anything else, Ed?
No, that's it.
I'll make my piece quick since I have said a lot of the points I wanted to say. I agree with Steven that this is kind of a recap chapter, but I think the way it was done was as good as it possibly can be done. I mentioned this, and everyone I think mentioned this, but I do love the fact that we see the world here and how it is affected by this, as was said, haphazard decision, seemingly. I wonder if Emu realized that there would be any consequence on the Red Line or anywhere else in the world. I am positive Emu does not give two shits. Personally, because I even think they said when they were making the determination a few chapters ago to wipe out the Lucia, they're like, oh, but there's something here, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I don't care, just do it. Or it's because it's close, right? I think that was one of the reasons they wanted to experiment with it there.
Yes.
It's easy to get to, basically. And that is a banality of evil thing, for sure. And seeing... I feel like there is a lot of environmental parallels with the real world, but also the fact that, when you kill one part of the ecosystem, as Bryan said, the butterfly effect, it could affect many other things, like, climate change affecting bee populations, or insect or whatever it is. It's crazy to think the little things that one big thing can affect. I think Laboon I was thinking about today specifically because he got separated from the rest of his pod, right? On the other side of the Red Line. Weren't they normally from another part of the ocean?
He's from West Blue.
West
the
Blue.
Side of the Red Line he's on does not connect to the West Blue.
Exactly. And also thinking about the height of the Red Line, thinking about this iceberg building the floating Water 7 is what he was working on at the end. Mm-hmm. and Wano in its odd position where everything's flooded below, but it's higher up. It's set up high. This really, I think, starts connecting the possibilities for Ed. You've been saying this for, I think, as long as we've been doing the podcast. The idea of the quote unquote constructed world, or if not that, at least the idea that something huge was done with the consequences not being considered, and that's what created the world. That's also possible.
We have we have super weapons that can destroy entire islands, and we have continent pullers. You don't know what they do. I mean, but that's what Oars is.
And probably the Onigashima skull.
Right.
As well, yeah. Which we saw it every single week for
and the giant
years,
the giant armor on Egghead too.
Right. Yeah. The giant suit of armor. Like this after these. So we've had 10 chapters now away from Egghead. This really feels like we're setting up this final confrontation between the world government and the Straw Hats in a way that we have, even in Enies Lobby and Water 7, like this is like really the Straw Hats versus the top pillars of what make the world.
The
government.
elders are, they're directing events, personally. They're getting involved directly. They're not sitting in a room. They're on a ship.
Fascinating. Yeah. One of them is. Yeah.
Well, one of them's on a ship. He's going places.
Oh, he is literally doing that. It is fascinating to me that we're entering this point in the story, and it's like a very surreal thing having done this for so long, like seeing, we're actually setting things up. And I say this almost every week recently, but it's crazy.
But it also doesn't make you feel old, because you can think about when you first saw the chapter of Enies Lobby like 17 years ago, and you're like, wow, we're finally getting there.
Yeah,
some answers
for us oldies. It's and at the same time, it's like, wow, this has been going on for 26 years. This story, it's crazy. Any other final thoughts? If not, we should probably talk about the anime.
This is the anime recap for episode 1071. Luffy's Peak Attained. Gear 5. I'm your host Sam, and today with me we have none other than Ed.
Luffy's power is maximum.
And joining us today we also have One Piece Podcast's own Zach Logan.
This is my peak.
And we have Animation's own Bryan Newton.
This is my hole.
Jesus Christ.
For the people who only listen to the anime recap, there's been a running joke this episode about holes.
Doesn't really need to have context, I don't even think. Just Bryan enjoys holes, and he's telling everyone about it for some reason.
Great.
We also have, joining us today, we have our dear, wonderful friend, Donny.
Hello, I have peaked.
You stole mine!
No, you are in your peak. Donny has peaked.
Yeah,
it's
past
different.
tense.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Donny.
Donny has the wisdom of experience of having been peaked. The episode opens, before we reach the title card, we just have kind of a scan of the scene as we're getting the heartbeat. Before it was the heartbeat, then the drums. Now it's the heartbeat, the drums, and like this specific like rubbery sound in sync with the heartbeat. And that takes us immediately, no further recap. We're into the title card at 1 minute and 52 seconds. And, we got this lots of quick cutting around to the different scenes and montage as the drums continue to pick up the excitement. Zunisha is talking about the drums of liberation, and we've got this like very like staticky like waveform looking Japanese text.
It's like the Simpsons Halloween special thing where someone here know what I'm talking about, where they had the text come up Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I'll just sit here.
Sorry, I can't back you up on that. Steve and Alex aren't here.
And in his current state, Luffy's hair is white, but the rest of his clothes are still normal. And he's like picking himself up, and he's sort of getting in the groove, and he's saying, "No, this is getting fun." Before like the whole white starts to take over, and then like just Sanji just wakes up in a cold sweat, like, huh? The story's happening, and he's being treated by Some, the geisha girl.
I'm the mouse.
Yeah. I love the close up on
Chuji.
I love the close up on Zunaish's eyes.
Yeah. And I love the sound design through this whole scene. It was on the previous episode too, but the sound of the drums of liberation, like it did. The sound of those drums did give me goosebumps. I liked what they chose for it.
Yeah.
Sam, I know you're definitely going to get into this in depth, but the music and sound effects this episode were all S tier, as far as I'm concerned.
And I would say even more prominent than that is Mayumi Tanaka's performance.
Yes. Oh my god.
Yes.
Like I would almost include her like laughing and her giggles and her weird like grunts and stuff as being part of the sound effect mix.
Absolutely.
Or, like it. We can talk about it in the sound design appreciation.
Good call.
And Marco, he's picked up. He's gotten the message. He's like, oh, Luffy's alive, and I like this shot of Nami and Tama hearing the news, and like they each kind of take turns pushing themselves into the camera as they cry of relief. And we have we cut to Mary Joa. I don't know when Crunchyroll started using the GEOISE.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Spelling,
I do not like it.
but I guess this is where we are now. And it's the five elders talking amongst each other.
Oh, what, sorry, Sam. The joke "Mary Jersey" is how I read that whenever I see it.
Joyzy.
The elders are like, we just sacrificed one of our top men to Kaido, but we can't afford to even risk the possibility of what would happen if Straw Hat Luffy continued to let loose. Because they've been, it turns out, looking for the Gum Gum fruit for 800 years and has been evading the government's grasp. Because it goes by another name, the human fruit mythical type Nika model. This is cross-cut with Luffy getting up and he's like kind of hopscotching in place. The very prominent rubber sound effects. He's jumping in front of the moon. Yeah. They're talking about how he's the sun god, but he's like jumping in front of the moon.
Well, yeah, they timed that up when they first say Nika. It's the it evokes.
I guess he is the sun that the moon is reflecting. I suppose you could say.
Oh, there you go.
That's a good analogy.
I like it, Sam.
And they're like, it is the most ridiculous power in the world, but they say it with like the gravity of, it's the most dangerous power in the world.
I liked Steven's translation of this a lot more, where it ends with ridiculous. It was his power is the most ridiculous or something, because I feel like that needs that's the note.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that descriptor choice.
Yeah.
I did like their translation though when they said another name for the Gum Gum fruit, where before, I think in the manga it said something like the gum, like they made it imply that like, oh, the Gum Gum fruit is not its true name or it's a fake name. I like this where
no,
it's just
I think
another name.
I had been rereading it. I think they actually say it is another name. I'm gonna double check though, so you could continue while
I always took the implication of like they renamed it to obscure it.
Yes. That was how I always read it. And this one felt like it was like, well, another name, like it felt more like it's a colloquialism, or like depending on where you go in the country, it's called this.
Yeah, and they're getting into they're talking a lot specifically about how the zone fruit type fruits tend to have a mind of their own, and that's It's a characteristic of Luffy's fruit that we were not aware
Well,
of before.
It also comes into like the carrying on certain wills, like the will of D, like inherited will. So the
Yeah, I can see that.
zonet fruits can also have a will of its own. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, very good.
So sorry that took me a while, but the answer to that question is zone fruits contain their own will, and this particular fruit is the other name of the gum gum fruit is.
Oh, okay. So
It could be that. I think is more ambiguous, for good or for bad. That it could be either.
Yeah, but I agree with Sam. I assume they gave it
That was
another
mine,
name
too.
to obscure its
Yeah.
power.
And then we're continuing we're finally finishing the subplot of Hiyori and Orochi. Orochi's under the rubble, pleading for his life, and Hiyori
Doesn't this
is like,
continue? I don't.
It does.
I think this is
We're not
basically
done.
the end now.
We're
Well,
getting
it's a
there.
pretty
Getting
definitive
close.
ending
Yeah.
at the end of this.
We're not
you know.
there.
Right.
And Hiyori's like, "Oh, this is the song my father liked, Kazuki Oden. He was a great man who always kept his promises, yada yada." And then like eventually, what?
I just find it funny that you're yada yadaing the.
This is an entire yada yada moment. Even in the manga, it's like yeah.
No, I know
We-
yeah.
This is a discussion we've had before between Hiyori and Orochi. By before, I mean like last week.
I don't understand why it's in this
and-
part of the
and then
manga
the week
chapter
before and-
either. Yeah.
I like this scene a lot more here in the anime, just because
Yes.
like the voice acting like
Yeah.
really makes me appreciate like the angry crying face that Hiyori has, which is
And Orochi Seiyu is just so good at being the sniveling, awful guy. And you see the full 360 or 180 and 360.
Yeah, I also like the
Yeah, the-
detail
the-
on Hiyori's face with the tears, it really with the say you caught the emotion.
yeah, the voice acting is like the final piece for me to be like, oh, this is like a really like piercing cry. This is very like there's a very like the emotions are kind of stabbing at you, the viewer, almost. And Kanjuro, who I think is ostensibly still technically a person, but is now just like this ink blob on fire, and is crawling into very convenient timing, just kind of crawling into the room like, oh, I'm and then Orochi's like, oh, you're just in time, Kanjuro. Let's escape together. Let's kill this woman. And then the Kanjuro, who's just like a flaming blob of fire, gets too close and lights Orochi on fire. And
Did you mention, sorry, the Orochi eye roll thing?
I do have that in my notes. Yeah, like he's so like dizzied from the reveal
Yeah.
of Hiyori's lineage and identity.
It's a good touch.
His eyes are like circling in opposite directions from each other.
Yeah.
And Hiyori's like, the Kyozuki clan are we always keep our promises. And then that we return to the Gear 5 subplot with Luffy jumping in front of the moon again and landing and getting ready for his fight. And eye catch. Come to the eye catch of the episode. The first eye catch is the Hanafuda card is the Gear 5 silhouette in a moon. And then we come back and it's the Luffy card again. The original. I think it's the Gear 5 card and then like the classic Luffy card. If I remember.
Yeah, no, it was.
Then we come back and now like Luffy's bounced. Like that old. You can always tell like what parts of like in like Tom and Jerry or something. You can always tell like what parts of what parts of the background are going to animate because they're clearly like cells rather than background paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what like the level that the plane that Luffy is jumping on in the foreground background space is like this very distinctly different colored ground.
That also happens
moving
when
and bouncing with him.
There's like same kind of thing when you like zoom out on a scene and you could tell, oh, this is about to happen because of the way this is animated.
It's just like because it's the kind of thing that doesn't have to be so prominent in the age of digital.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was like a conscious choice, if they were trying to evoke that thing that you commonly see in old cartoons.
I mean, Sam, you could probably tell me better than I can, but I feel like a lot of the direction in Wano is to make it feel like it is hand drawn as much as possible. So maybe.
Well, Kaido just
because I wouldn't say it feels hand drawn, but it's like here's this kind of like artifice that animation usually doesn't do on purpose that often.
Right.
And then Luffy, he blows his hand up. He basically doing like a Gear Third thing, which I don't think the manga like showed as him blowing the air into his hand. I think in the manga his hand just was bigger, so that's interesting. And he reaches down and he grabs Kaido, and Kaido is shocked. And I love
they do the eyes.
Yeah, they do the eyes. They do the what's it called in the animation? Anticipation, where like the Kaido's kind of like been grabbed and his head is sort of like dipping low in the frame, and then whoop, gets pulled up and his like eyes fall behind. And
this is where the Overtaken remix hits. There was previously a We Are, I think, remixy thing.
A very quick We Are.
It's like a cover. It's like a cover of Overtaken.
I love the shit out of this track specifically. It is perfect for this. It's like a mixture of the drums of whatever it was called, and
drums of liberation.
So when people were speculating like, oh, what if the drums of liberation is Overtaken? Like, oh, what if we were hearing the drums of liberation this whole time and like using like Overtaken as an example? You see that I've seen like TikToks of people making that point, and I was kind of skeptical that like that was at all intentional on anyone's behalf, but I kind of like that they're at least, if it wasn't originally intentional, they're leaning into that, because now it's like the drums of liberation are now feeding into this cover of Overtaken. And and it's a very different like tempo, it's a very different feel. It's the melody is not like very prominent, but it's like you hear it and you're like, is that Overtaken?
Well,
I've never heard them do a different take on Overtaken before. It's always been like the same recording that they've been using since season 1.
I mean, what's great too is that these One Piece themes, Overtaken included, We Are, many, many, many others, are so iconic that you could just throw in. It's like kind of that John Williams idea that if you throw in a couple notes, you know what it is referring to. I very much appreciate that here. And I hope we have more of them in this.
Yeah, and like Overtaken being kind of like, if We Are is not, if we're not saying We Are is the One Piece theme song, then Overtaken is the One Piece theme song. Basically.
I'm sorry, Sam. Before we started, I was like, is there anything I should mention? And there is one thing, and that is that a soundtrack is coming out, all of all the Gear 5 songs in January. January 26, 2024, the original soundtrack comes out, which feels like an eternity.
So Luffy's just like completely in control in this fight. He's pulling Kaido out of the ground, out of the castle, back onto the roof. He's like puffing himself up to look all buff and muscly, and he's like muscle, which in Japanese is like it's like moogie moogie moogie, which it kind of also sounds like he's saying like monkey monkey monkey, like,
or Mugiwara,
like
moogie, like straw.
Yeah. And just like, like obviously, and now it's like this blend of like roof piece Sakuga light show firework explosions, but also like completely abstract, like very, very fast whiplashy, old Looney Tunes-y cartoons, and like with the very old, very like Looney Tunes Tom and Jerry type sound effects.
He's sitting on a mountain or a rock formation that's jiggling like a pudding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was, I thought the same thing, Sam, of an interesting blend. I was like, oh, it's like Sakuga meets Looney Tunes, which is
I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like squeezing Kaido so hard that like like the you know, Kaido's like dragon body is just like squished between his like grasp, and it's like ballooning out on the sides of his hands, and he's like swinging Kaido around and smacking him back and forth, doing everything just short of using him as a jump rope. That'll be later.
You get that like super maniacal Joy Boy laugh, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Where like it zooms into
Luffy's
his
voice
mouth.
in this episode is crazy.
Mayumi Tanaka fucking
It's like sounds
throws it out of the
so-
park. That I will say.
Yeah, she
Like if you were Luffy's enemy, you'd be so scared of him.
there were
I like that. I like that.
There was at least one moment also where she did the laugh, and for a split second, and I don't know if she did this intentionally, it sounded like Woody Woodpecker's laugh, which felt so perfect. It felt like the start of the Woody Woodpecker laugh, and like it almost took me out. And
Yeah, like it's just amazing that like we're still hearing like new parts of her range as an actress.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what's amazing. It's great. The one thing, and I think they showed like a behind the scenes thing.
Yeah, I
on
saw
the
that.
official.
It's very interesting.
What's crazy is I would think I remember hearing these stories about like Mayumi Tanaka losing her voice in NES Lobby. I think when she had to just yell. I feel like she did have fun with this, like despite the fact that it probably included insane amounts of laughter takes. Like I do feel the joy, the maniacal joy that comes out of this character.
yeah, no, she knocked it out. The laugh
Yeah.
stood out to me the most. I think when like I commented about this episode in the Discord, the first thing I talked about was the laugh.
Yeah. I think that's, you could think what you want about the episode. I think Mayumi Tanaka did a fantastic job. That's what I was going to say.
And I love when I think one of my favorite shots in this episode is when Luffy like he's been whipping Kaido around and he throws Kaido and he falls back on his back, and then like his feet are just like in the air in the foreground of the shot as like Kaido's like picking himself back up, and like Luffy is just having a blast, and his feet are waving in the air. He's clapping with his feet like a monkey.
I loved the shit out of that one too. That
made me like laugh out loud.
Well, we watched it together, so I did get to hear your initial thought or feelings.
You talk about the ending now?
And
No, there's still a lot more to go.
More to go.
So then we get the Kaido doing the blast breath. This is the name I saw as the animator. Weilin Zhang. It's like several languages in that name, I guess. Did this sequence of Kaido doing the blast, and then like the art gets like crazy abstract. The whiplash gets crazy hard. And the eyeballs pop out. This is the eyeballs pop out. He grabs his own eyeballs, shoves them back into his head.
Is that what that was hard to follow?
He's grabbing onto the ground and like moonwalking himself back to solid ground so that he can live. So the one thing my main problem with this episode is both that this scene is amazing, but also it like kind of botches one of like the more important visuals of the fight, which is Luffy grabbing the ground and pulling it up in order to block the blast breath. And I had to like watch this scene multiple times to even realize that that's the scene that they were adapting, because it's just like stuff happening so fast, and so over the compositing effects are just like so overbearing.
I don't know. I thought it looked really cool after I watched it a couple of times, but it's more iconic on the page, yeah.
Well, it's two things. It's one, you can't tell visually that that's what he's even doing, really, because there's no animation of the rock coming up. It's so fast that his hands are on the ground, and then there's lights, and the rock is up.
We were talking about this.
I don't think there's any like process or like in between frames of like him pulling it up so you can see that as a motion. And like that's like I think that's like the first real cue in the manga that Luffy's new power is defying reality, right? Like he's doing the Looney Tunes thing of the blast is coming at him. He has, like in that like millisecond, his eyes pop out. He makes faces. He laughs. He grabs the ground, pulls it up to protect himself.
It shows
like
that he's affecting the
second.
world around him.
Yeah, he's following completely unreal logic, even for the One Piece world.
So, we talked about this,
and none of that is clear in the animation.
I guess I do love it when he bounces the blast back at Kaido, and everything turns into like black and white. Then we see he's all charred and stuff. And
the charred shot I really like. That was a classic cartoon. The quick shot of Kaido's eyes.
The quick shot of Kaido's "I done fucked up" face is amazing.
I wish that shot wasn't as quick, but it was still so good.
That one I like. That one I think it was just right.
You could at least tell what it was, it was, even the quickness, because it's like just a still of the, I done fucked up.
And now we get some like, just even like the shots of like Luffy's like feet and the camera kind of like panning back or out from it, and like the outlines, like it's not like chromatic aberration. It's like the outlines just have a kind of a slight rainbow gradient to them, so that like it has this weird, and like in the animation feels so three-dimensional at the same time, like as we're getting these very detailed close-ups of like his feet, and we're like panning up him, and then we're getting the GEAR5 and like the images of the gum fruit, aka the human fruit Monomika, and we're getting like the formal reveal, the formal presentation of Gear 5. This is Gear 5th, and also I have not mentioned yet that throughout this episode we are getting, in the manga you never see Luffy's face until like the last panel, like he's covering his face, and they're sort of doing that here. They adapt it where you do get glimpses of his face, but like you're still you're still in this kind of mode of confusion as the fight's going on, and we're seeing him from like basically everywhere but directly in the front of his face, and he's covering his eyes with his hand, but he's also like opening his hand at times to like peek out, so it's like they're doing this. I think it was a very good compromise of, we're getting more of his face before the end of the episode, but they're still keeping us disoriented. They're still kind of like keeping us like looking out for it. And it makes Luffy just feel like weird and mysterious and frightening and playful. And then Kaido apologizes for Guernica jumping in and ruining the fight. He's like, I didn't want to win that way. And we get like just a really long recap.
Yeah.
Like I think it's slower than the scene happened in the original episode.
Yeah.
As Guernica jumps in, grabs Luffy, lets Kaido hit him. And then we come back and Luffy's like, it's all right. Let's settle this now. Let's do this mano a mano. Now that we're both at our strongest, or at least that I'm at my strongest. I don't know about you, man. So they're now Luffy's, he's pulled his hand off his face. We can see it. He's got his pink eyes. He's got his like weird, crazy grin. And they're getting ready to continue fighting. Kaido's so impassioned that he like loses his outlines and becomes this like almost like watercolor smudgy effect. And like Luffy doing this weird like Roadrunner skirting on the ground where he's like kicking his feet really fast in place and then like zooming off. And the episode ends with them basically just kind of staring each other down, and we're sort of focusing on them, on Kaido, then on Luffy, getting the good look of Luffy. To be continued. And then a new ending plays.
What?
So good.
Yeah.
The first time since this
Do
podcast
we want to
started,
separate the ending
Yeah.
discussion from the episode discussion?
Yeah, well, we'll get back to the ending, which I think is incontrovertibly amazing. Yeah, Sam, go. You're in charge.
I thought the episode was really good. I think that this, I have this reverence in my heart for the big dramatic transformation reveal episode, because I have those memories of being a kid and like the reruns of the Super Saiyan episode would come on, and like even the reruns were like these kind of religious experiences at that age where you watch it and you return to school and you're like looking at your friends like, oh, did you see it? Did you see it? No. And that Super Saiyan episode is just like 20 minutes of Goku grunting, and at the end his hair changes color.
That's true. Just haven't heard it said that way.
I guess Krillin also dies in the episode.
No, he dies in the previous episode, right?
When doesn't
Yeah.
Krillin die?
Krillin dies, I
He
think,
does,
at the
doesn't
end.
he?
Yeah.
It's just the build-up, and then at the end, at the
It's
like
in the
very
recap,
last second,
probably.
But that
transforms.
you put it so well. It did. I mean, like I saw at this like middle school age. That was a religious experience, absolutely. And I personally like the Super Saiyan 2 transformation more, just because it has heart and energy, like a lot. And the music and many
2 or
reasons.
3.
2.
Oh, 2 with Gohan.
Yeah. But even that was, well, it was the very end of one episode and then like half of the next episode, right? It was short in the series. I forgot, but go ahead. You are right. It did feel like a religious experience. That's what I was trying to say.
And so, like, I'm already kind of buckled in for this episode to be, a
religious
very, well, not a religious experience. Like, I understand that sometimes the importance of these scenes means that that's kind of the only thing that really happens in the episode.
Yeah.
So like that's a slack I'm cutting it. I like the Hiyori scene, all right. It went on a little too long. They repeated a little too much of where that conversation had gotten to in the last few episodes. And then the long Granicle flashback was just egregious.
Yeah, agreed.
I think they found a pretty interesting tone for, like, it's silly, it's evoking old school American cartoons, but also being cool and exciting and hype, and having all the crazy animation that you would expect. But there's just like this atmosphere to it. There's this, like, you, the audience, are not prepared for each next scene, and just like how like weird and hard to wrap your head around it is, and it's like just so intense with the whiplash, and I would say it's like almost like hostile to the viewer with how like overstimulating it is.
Well, they pay for that by with what they have to do with the other episodes, but I think the focus on it here is well directed.
Yeah, I just like that weird, like, disorienting atmosphere effect is cool. I like it a lot. So this episode, I think, is done by Nagamine, who's like the series director and the Film Z Broly guy, and it reminds me a lot of Broly, of like, it's all action. It's very emotional action, and it's like you get this almost like tunnel vision with it, where it's like it's like overstimulating in a way that very few things are, and you almost feel like you enter an altered state at some point.
I think, though, and we were having a discussion, I think I said before this, about the direction in particular with the scene that you were mentioning where he lifts up the ground, and it's just very hard to follow. I personally love that you were really in Kaido's shoes here, and you're like, what the fuck is happening right now?
I just think that the sequence. I just think the act of pulling the ground up with his hands I just think that's something that the viewer should understand, regardless of how disorienting the rest of it is.
I don't disagree, but I do think the fact that he affects the world around him is really well conveyed.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely conveyed in the whole rest of the episode, right?
Yeah. I don't.
So I can forgive it in that sense. I was frustrated by that. I was just frustrated by that this one thing is just so obviously unclear.
No, yeah. I agree, because I also felt the way, like, I could tell very quickly, like, before that happened, his eyes popped out, but in the manga, that's obviously a still panel. In that one, it was so quick, I didn't notice he shoved them back in. I had trouble following that, and that's one of those ones where, like, that seems like a minor gripe, but I like, because it conveys how
you would have liked the
Luffy
chance to appreciate what they did by seeing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know. Like, well, I'll give my thoughts after. I'll let you finish.
Zach, would you like to give your thoughts?
Okay, thank you, Sam. You were there when I watched it. There are very few things generally where I react viscerally. I don't normally have DMs with I was messaging with Roger Space that night, and I'm like, I actually had a Roger reaction, I feel like, to it, which is super rare. I think I often, like, I tease him about it because I'm like, how do you do that? And how do YouTubers do that generally? Where they like, oh my God, this just Luffy shook his hand. Can you believe it? That's my YouTuber impression.
Pretty
like that
on.
is, thank you, Donny. That is just not me generally. But for this, I'm not going to say it was a religious experience by any means. I'm also 36, so having those religious experiences to shonen shows are just much tougher. But you know, I don't know. I love the chaos of it. Like, I completely get the criticism that it was a lot and too much, but I think Gear 5 is supposed to be cartoony chaos. And I think, Ed, you kind of said something like this a minute or two ago, but like, I do love, if you're gonna do something this crazy and off the wall, make it now. With a lot of, I mean, not to spoil things, but a lot of the greatest Gear 5 stuff is still to come. This chapter, even in the manga, I mean, first of all, the Hiyori stuff was very, what do you call it? It really took you off the storyline, even in the original chapter. Since the anime took so many liberties with everything else, I'm a little upset that it didn't kind of try and adapt things differently with the episode. Although I think an entire episode of just bouncing Gear 5 and like that freneticism and like kinetic insanity would have just been overboard. And I think, as you said, it was hostile toward the viewer. Absolutely. And I love the shit out of that because it's so
being disorienting is its goal for sure.
Right. Yeah. And
that's what we watched the anime for in the first place. I mean, it's not the manga. Manga is the primary enjoyment of the story. The anime is for the flavor of,
right,
sight,
and
sight
the music
and
the you get the rest of the sensory stuff. Mm-hmm. But for this specifically, Gear 5 is such a like, I am going to break the world kind of power with my cartoonishness. I think the thing we love, like I see comments from people who obviously do not read One Piece, who are like, "Oh, what's with the cartoony sound effects? This is supposed to be cool shonen shit." I'm doing a lot of impressions of internet people this week, but generally,
those people aren't cool though. They don't know what cool things are.
No, and you know what? One Piece has always been this cartoony series, the anime in particular, I'd even say. And so I do agree. I hope in the next few episodes we do see more of the cartoonishness. But I do love the mixture. I think, Sam, you put it really well, of the cartoonishness and the shonen, regular old shonen Sakuga, crazy. It isn't quite Western animation. It isn't quite anime. It's like That is One Piece. That's why a lot of people hated One Piece at the beginning, because it's like, this looks too Disney-ish, or this looks too Looney Tunes-ish. A guy with rubber? That's ridiculous. He took a bite of gum. Like, all that stuff, like, I think comes across super well in this episode. I think that I just felt like the giddy, kiddish, like being a teenager, the preteen enjoyment out of this episode. I did feel that. And so for all the faults that this episode certainly did have, including, Sam mentioned all of them, it got me giddy, which how many times can I really say that to a piece of media? And just, I love Gear 5 Luffy, and I Mayumi Tanaka and Kohei Tanaka, the Tanakas, really blew this out of the water, I thought, specifically. I'm done.
Donnie, what did you think of this episode?
I really enjoyed it. I mirror a lot of what Zach and you said. I kind of brought up the issues I had following some of the shots that I wish they just were a little less Sakuga and a little more Looney Tunes. The blend, I definitely get Zach's point of like, that's One Piece, it's the blend. I also have to admit, I've not very really kept up with the anime. I actually watched the last like 2 episodes before this one last night before I watched it, kind of to refresh but get the tone. I wanted to see how they did the ending of like the fight when Guernica goes in, the part before, and then like the Goopy D Luffy episode, and then this one. And I kind of wanted to see, and because I've I've been manga only, and generally when I've been watching or seeing anime clips, I've enjoyed them, and I like the stylization in Wano. It's definitely, I would say, the best the anime has looked in a long time. But there is certain stuff and certain decisions that I personally am like, well, that doesn't feel like One Piece. A lot of the cartoony shots, like Luffy doing the muscle, him bouncing, that little like almost Roadrunner run he does at one point, the shots that weren't too quick to follow, that felt like One Piece, and Zach was saying. And then I mentioned it before, but the laugh, like, I can't get over Mayumi Tanaka's performance in this episode. Like, you mentioned Dragon Ball Z and the transformation of like, yeah, it's 20 minutes of grunts, and whenever in the past in like Shonen, whenever there's like a dramatic transformation or something, it's always a scream or grunts or something of power, something like that people would think is like cool and powerful and epic, like some loud explosion. And I love that this transformation was announced by Mayumi just laughing loudly while the drums are happening. And like the sound design, I don't know if they did something to make the laugh like echo more or something where it resonated. Like the laugh felt like what other shonen character powers up, and I know this isn't exactly what's happening, but it's power up by laughing is what it felt like. Just like laughing so hard you break reality. It was really cool, and it made the laugh feel like, yeah, a little frightening and manic, but I saw more of just like less frightening and more a statement of power, like my freedom, and this laughter like shows how free and powerful I am, because I'm not taking any of this seriously, because I don't have to, because I'm free and I can do what I want. And that's kind of the vibe I got, and I loved the tone. Like Zach said and Sam said, there were gripes I had with the episode. The pacing did feel weird. There was a lot of reusing shots and animation a lot, and
yeah, there was a couple of that.
There was a lot of that where it felt like, yep, you're very excited about Gear 5. You're reusing these shots a lot. And as someone who'd watched the episodes before, being like, yeah, no, I saw Guernica. I'm familiar. What just happened? But
I mean, I love Guernica, but a little too much. He's dead now. We only need to dwell on it.
It was a little too much, but it was, I think you said it best, Zach, that it just felt like the vibe of Gear 5 they did get right. Like all that, it felt different but spectacular. So it felt like, yeah, you're seeing a shonen power you've never seen before, and it's a big deal. And I really dug that. And I do plan I'm gonna go back and rewatch the episode because I kind of do want to give it another look after this discussion, and especially the scenes where I the first time had trouble following the action. Maybe a few more viewings.
I'm up to my fourth or something like that.
Yeah. I think I've watched it like 4 times now.
Yeah, I only got one, so I need to catch up.
Ed, thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, basically just what everyone else has said. I mean, I this is what I watch the anime for. Really, is to be impressed, sort of visually and musically, and the performance. I worry less about pacing, for the sake of pacing, because that's what I read the manga for. But just the way that the Kaido is taking those blows, and just the way that he Luffy reaches down into the skull dome and yanks Kaido out and slaps him around, throws him around. But he's having fun while he does it. And like Donny was saying, this is the anti shonen, but it's on brand for Oda because it's being the most free and having he's free to be happy, and he can just be the avatar of joy for the downtrodden peoples of the world. But yeah, I don't have much else to add. It was a very, very, very fun episode.
Sam,
I think Bryan dipped.
Yeah, Bryan couldn't. I think his internet dropped. I was just going to say, Sam, though, we were watching the Ishitani episodes before, which might have been an awful idea because those are some of the most brilliantly animated things I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was not that. But I think... I
mean, her strength is in episodes with lots of characters and subplots and connecting them.
Yes.
I think she...
I'm not saying she should have done it. I think it's just... yeah, go ahead, Sam.
She's definitely working on one right now. I hope certain of it. They will back a dump truck full of money on her lawn.
They better.
To keep her making One Piece episodes or movies.
She deserves that dump truck.
I think she'd be really good with the episode when we see Momonosuke.
Yeah.
As an adult. I think that would be like the right one for her.
Yeah, this episode wasn't about a tender moment. This is about a visual spectacle.
No. Well, to be fair, she did the Queen episode presented by Onigashima.
And the Red Rock episode.
And the Red Rock. That's spectacle. But it's not this kind of spectacle, though. It's different. I kind of almost... I mean, I guess what is my wildest dreams of how they could animate Gear 5?
Next week's episode looks good, too.
Next week, as I think, is the meat and potatoes of Gear 5. I am just super excited, and I guess my wildest dreams is literally a Looney Tunes episode with Luffy. I don't think we're gonna get that, nor do I think that might even be the appropriate thing. But this was the closest I could have imagined that, maybe to a crazy level. But the frenetic moments that were hard to follow, so that one scene in particular that we've talked a lot about, I have to rewatch some Looney Tunes, but there's definitely some crazy shit in Looney Tunes episodes that are abstract like that. There are episodes of Looney Tunes that fit that. So I don't I bet you that is where they were drawing.
But sometimes the abstract goes less. I mean, and I say this as a compliment. It's sometimes it's the abstract doesn't even feel One Piece or Looney Tunes. It feels like fucking Devilman Crybaby.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think that's kind of the product of the combination of the two things. It's Looney Tunes plus One Piece.
You think Masaki Yuasa would do an episode of One Piece? I mean, he should.
It would be cool.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say.
Time. They can do One Piece.
You reminded me what I want to say. Did you also do ping pong as well?
Yes.
That's because that frenetic action that felt like that. Like
Zach,
that's
you gotta
the
watch.
one thing.
You gotta watch Mind Game. Watch Mind Game.
I haven't seen that one. I've seen a bunch of Yuasa. I haven't seen that one.
Watch Ride
I
Your
love
Wave.
Yuasa.
Everyone should watch Ride Your Wave.
Maybe that's why I enjoyed this too, because it felt inspired by Yuasa at times, right? Is that just me?
The character.
That
way.
That's absolutely. I was thinking about Devilman when I was watching it.
Yeah, I need to watch more Yuasa. You're right, Ed. That's on me.
Or, it's actually it's like Lou Over the Wall, where the mermaid who plays the music makes everyone dance. It's actually a lot like that.
One Piece has really gotten some out of the box people working on it, so it's not impossible. That you need that dump truck of money. Send it to Yuasa. Want to talk?
All right.
About
Anything
the
else anybody would like to talk about before we move on to talking about the ending song?
No, I mean I could talk for a while, but I won't. I do that all the time.
So we have a new ending theme for the first time when was the last one? In 2007?
17 years ago.
17 years ago.
That long. Wow.
A creative and/or fiscal choice that they made a long time ago.
Well, they lengthened the opening songs and changed time slots. So
I think it was
fiscal.
But
they have to. But now they don't have to license new songs as often, and they don't have to animate new.
So I mean the openings are
often.
back down to 150 like they were back in the VR days. So it makes sense that they put this back now.
But this, and this ending is like 152. Like this is way longer than endings usually are.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So this may also simultaneously help with episode pacing a little bit, because this is like an extra.
We've been saying this
minute
for
they
years,
don't have
Sam.
to animate.
When I used to do the the anime recap back in 2012, whatever it was, we used to say, just bring the endings back. Your pacing sucks because you have to fill so much more time.
Yeah.
So the song is raised by the band Chili Beans, which is a fantastic name. I think this is the best One Piece ending we've ever had.
Visually, it's just
Visually,
gorgeous.
it is.
I love the style.
I love the song too.
This visually might be one of my favorite things.
This is much
in
more
like One Piece that
It
we've
almost
seen.
didn't. I was getting
it
vibes.
evokes
where I'm
the
like,
same
it
kind of
almost
like
didn't. And this isn't an insult in this connotation.
tender,
but it's like, it
sentimental
almost didn't
feelings
feel
that
like
you
One
don't
Piece,
always
and
get
for
in
a
a
lot
One
of
Piece
it.
anime, but you
It was
do get
following
in stuff
Yamato, and it like. It was. I was like, I just want a whole thing in this style, following side.
It
characters.
reminded
like,
me of the Hungry Days.
That's what I
previews.
was gonna say. Yeah, that's
big Hungry
You're
Day
like-
vibes.
I would like a lot more One Piece stuff in this tone, or in this, or something that
it's
takes like
also
the
similar-
more down to earth emotions seriously.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, the music is also similar to the Bump of Chicken music video.
Yeah,
That's fair enough.
big
I also,
Hungry Day vibes.
the one thing endings can do that openings can't is to sit in a place and like really like feel like you're lived in that place in a very short period of time. You don't get that in openings. That's just not a thing openings do.
Like, I spent this last chunk of my life just kind of accepting that One Piece didn't have endings anymore. I didn't love that choice, but I was like, I can't dwell on it because it's just gonna make me sad. I feel both extremely happy and extremely sad that we've gone all this time without getting more of these.
Considering this one. And there's so many little things. There's still like, even though it doesn't feel One Piece-y, and I definitely get that. You could see love for the characters and like the characters' interactions, like in a way that openings, even the better openings, don't always do, in like very subtle, quiet ways.
I'll have to look at the lyrics again.
Yeah, I know, Ed. That's your cup of tea.
We have to redo our endings rankings now.
This
I
might
feel
be
like
at the
on the
top for
whole-
me as well. Like I need a little more time for
top
it to like
five, yeah.
percolate. It's certainly in like my top 3, I would say.
Like, so I think in general, I have way more emotional memories of how like anime endings have made me feel over
Same.
the openings.
Inuyasha, a series I don't love, but has amazing endings.
Like, I genuinely think that experience of watching a show, getting invested, reaching that cliffhanger, getting greeted with this ending theme that you've probably heard a few times, but now it's hitting you different because of like how the story is making you feel.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, you're sitting in this place. It's just like a time to dwell on how the show makes you feel, and it sort of sets the tone for your own like reflection on your relationship with the story. Why have we not had these in One Piece? Oh my god, I'm genuinely overwhelmed with like what could have been.
Agreed.
All these years.
I can't
I could forgive so much pacing. I could forgive so many like the all the years that the anime hasn't looked super great. Like if there were endings that were giving me these feelings, I could have forgiven a lot. So
and,
yeah,
the anime even acknowledged its importance with memories playing in the Odin flashback, right? Like, yeah, I feel you, Sam. I feel the same.
Yeah, it sounds weird to say it, but it made it feel like a show. It sounds weird to say it, but it like that hit that ending. It's like, yeah, anime have. Like,
I'm like, oh wait, this is an anime.
Endings.
Yeah.
This is about Wano. People of Wano.
This isn't just a product that exists as a formality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the song's beautiful too.
Song's beautiful. The imagery is beautiful.
Rewatch the ending.
I'm gonna be listening to Chili Beans a lot. I'm telling you right now.
I like
it's on
Yamato.
Spotify.
I like the shot of Yamato like picking up his club and running. And
yeah,
I like that he has like these distinctly like buff arms. Or,
I
like,
know.
Buff shoulders.
I like that it was just like mostly Yamato focused. I don't think we saw the Straw Hats until the final shot. It just followed him.
No,
and
there's
the whole second half is like a kind of montage of like packing
Wano
up and leaving Wano.
yeah.
And And it's we're getting teases / spoilers for like what the
Momo and
what the following action of the Wano arc is gonna show us.
Yeah,
and they're all beautiful. They're all.
I've just watched this 7 times while we've been talking. So
get me a One Piece
my favorite
movie
shot
in that style.
Yeah.
My favorite shot is it's Hitetsu and Toko.
Do we?
And Hitetsu,
yes.
yeah, Hitetsu doesn't have his mask, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I love because it's like where it's where like the chorus is picking up.
Yeah.
And like the music is kind of like changing key, and like the way that like Toko's like dancing with the umbrella and like it. This is what I love about like the combination of music and visuals, and what I like about I really enjoy making AMVs, and I like the different ways you can combine visuals and music, and like I love how this shot feels like like as Toko's kind of jumping in the air, it almost feels like the air of the song is kind of lifting her up, and then Kinemon and Kawamatsu visiting the shrine.
Yeah, and we know why.
If you know the story, you have extra context for
Yeah.
how these things are connected. It's just like all these just textural emotions. That can just exist as just a fixture of this thing that you're going to be greeted with at the end of every episode. I think that's so.
Sorry, Sam. It was profound.
Like I'm almost more moved and emotional over the fact that we have this ending now than the episode even made me feel.
Yeah, I might agree with that.
And then it's just, and it was a good combination of like, the episode was good and exciting, and it was this big hype classic shonen transformation episode, but then also the Overtaken cover, the new take on Overtaken, like that was like, oh man, I'm like reconnecting with old feelings of One Piece, and then the ending happened.
And juxtapose the cartoonishness versus this set piece. I don't know what to call it. The one thing I want to say is it also, even though it feels completely different, it also feels like old One Piece, as you said, not just because it's an ending, which but like that last scene, particularly heading to the Straw Hats, Yamato heading there, or Momonosuke heading there. Just like that feels like
Well, it has the
that
vibe
feels
of
like
some of the
classic
more
One Piece. Yeah.
character-driven, slower endings from Alabasta and Water 7. Those were
Shining Ray is the one that pops into my head specifically.
Well, I was thinking of Glory, particularly.
Yeah, that's a
from
good one.
Alabasta. Yeah.
Yeah, that one too. I just like Shining Ray. Let's be honest. The song.
Well, it's
that's a
more
hard to beat
the
song.
Shining Ray is more upbeat. This is more of a mellow vibe.
Yeah, but that's what endings are for.
But like,
mellow.
yeah, like,
exactly.
But even an upbeat song kind of feels
mellower.
It can be repainted by like the tone of where the story's at, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is just the thing that is so cool about anime endings that.
And you get to see like flowers opening, and this is me talking as someone in their mid-30s, and the clouds, and you get all the water dripping off of the buildings and the umbrellas and the
and sometimes characters
that stuff
in weird situations, just in anime endings in general.
Yeah,
like this whole talk, I just think about the Gundam Wing ending.
Oh my god,
like, Relina on a rhino or something.
That's the most ridiculous ending.
And that ending has stayed with me forever.
I am so upset Toonami did not have that ending, because that like changes my opinion of the show. Like, it is crazy, that ending. Go watch it.
And this is kind of like the final. This is almost like the final step of like the One Piece anime kind of reconstructing its image.
Yeah.
Since
Wano has
Wano. Like I think back to how I felt watching Whole Cake Island, and how much of the anime is stuff that I accepted but didn't like and wasn't happy with.
Yeah. Yep. Whole Cake Island was hard for me at the point, because I had a friend at that time who was anime only, and I was talking about how much I adored Whole Cake Island in the manga, and then I sit and I watch Whole Cake Island with him in the anime, and I'm just like, what did they do? Look at how they massacred my boy. Like,
I agree.
And it's just like it's just been like, it started with just kind of like the facelift and like just a general stronger direction, right? And then like you get to then like the Ishitani episodes start coming into play, and then the Onigashima happens and Roof Piece happens, and it's just like this escalating series of statements on like Toei's part that like, no, like we are going to spend the rest of One Piece making like
good shit,
validating the fans' belief that there is something of like real artistic merit in One Piece and in loving One Piece.
It's made me think, hey, maybe I will go watch all of Wano. Like,
I like I'm like, from this point forward, I might be rewatching episodes a lot more often.
Yeah.
And just like marathoning, like, oh, how do these episodes flow when you watch them all together, and you get the whole cohesive experience.
I mean, a lot of what this month for podcast episodes that we've been doing is to celebrate the anime, and specifically in how it's, I think, Sam, you put it brilliantly, in how it has grown, and also circled back to what made it great earlier on, with the Covenant.
And what you believed it could be,
right.
Just like when you're just with yourself and you're with your feelings, and you're, you see your own, you attach to your own particular corners of One Piece, and like where you're filling in the blanks of what what you're interested in, what you want to see more of, and like that just feels so much more validated today in 2023 than it did
any other year ago. Yeah, and like, well, when did this start? 2019, the Wano anime, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's just
no way. Have we been here for almost 4 years?
Yeah, I think we're gonna be here for almost 5 years when all is said and done here. But
I mean, like that. that's the one thing that might not ever be able to completely fix.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I think the more One Piece artistically stretches its, oh god, I didn't mean any of these puns.
Go with it. Run with it.
Artistically
don't
stretches its muscles and say Muji, or whatever it was. But like, seriously, it expanding its palette in so many different ways. I could. And if it gets more comfortable living in the moments and being okay with slower pacing when it's, or being creative about it, like we used to always say implied filler, is what we needed in episodes. And I think just talented people are behind these episodes and are getting the money, the dump truck of money that they deserve.
Hopefully. Let's not make assumptions about how much animators are getting paid, but
they must be getting paid more than they were, because the series was clearly
somebody's
done.
getting paid more, at least somewhere.
Someone's getting that money. I don't know who it is. But it's just, I have such optimism for the anime going forward. I'm so excited to see where the anime specifically goes in the future. It like kind of makes me, as you said, like complex feelings, almost furious that we couldn't have had this the entire time. Like maybe we wouldn't appreciate it. Yeah. Well, no, not just the ending, just the artistic,
quality.
And the artistic creativity,
just the care, the feeling like they care about what they're making.
But also
on like a broad base level, and not just like an occasional.
The product had to be completely
treat.
moribund first, and then you have to renew it.
I guess, but like I love the completely freeform, like experimental nature of what One Piece has been recently. Like it is a proving ground for new animators. Like that is so cool. That is something that One Piece never was, and it like lends credence to the idea that of One Piece being this unique phenomenon.
Yeah, and it's becoming increasingly international.
Yeah,
which is awesome. In its audience and its artists.
Yeah, it's I love that it's the petri dish that it is today. Like that is so. Even when it fails, like you might not have liked that scene in today's episode that was frenetic, but it did something crazy, and it did something in a time when doing something crazy makes sense. And whether or not it was executed perfectly or not, I love that is what One Piece is right now.
And kind of like One Piece is an anime, I'm just thinking about it, whose visual style has morphed and changed constantly. I mean, it makes sense that it's been going so many years, but like it's kind of cool that it just keeps morphing and trying new things and changing. Some of them work, some of them don't.
It's a completely different series than it was during Whole Cake Island, than it was during Dressrosa, than it was during Fishman Island, than it was during NES Lobby and Water 7, than it was, like it has gone through so many stylistic and directorial transformations. It's just amazing. It's amazing to see. And on the other, and Oda too, the manga has gone through stylistic transformations of good and bad. So is the anime. So anyway, Sam, did you have anything else we have been talking about?
No, I feel satisfied.
All right. We are not going to have time for the Piece Together segment this week, but next week there's no manga chapter. So I'm sure we will hopefully have time then. We'll find out. Let's round off the show. This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 781 for August 7th, 2023. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I want to give a big thanks to Merphy and Bryan for being on early in the episode. Please check them out. Check Merphy out on YouTube if you have not. Her channel is fantastic, and she is always a fun guest to have. And Bryan, check out in all the places I've mentioned, Teen Titans Go, the first 3 seasons of Rick and Morty, Rugrats, the Urkel holiday special when that comes out, and a lot more.
And Steven.
And Steven, of course, at Translatosaurus, and he's on Blue Sky now too, joining the Blue Skyers. The Blue Sky Club? No, I don't like that. And for Bryan in absentia, I will say that without him, there is a giant hole in my heart.
We've all got holes.
Anyway, yeah, Donny, where could people find you?
People can find me on Twitter, as long as it remains Twitter.
I don't even know if it is anymore.
Yeah, at Spacewitch, spelled, and this is the first time in the podcast since I've rebranded, but
yeah.
SPVCEVVITCH. Same on Blue Sky. Same name on Blue Sky. The Blue Sky. I don't have anything special on that. You can also find me. I stream on Twitter every Monday and Wednesday at 6:30 Pacific at twitch.tv/spacewitch, SPVCEVVITCH. I also stream every Thursday on twitch.tv/One Piece Podcast with Dan. We're going through Pokemon right now. Definitely check out the channel. Like I said at the beginning, it's something we're still working on growing, but it's been a lot of fun and a lot of passionate folks working on it who are just having fun streaming every week.
Two things I will say about Donny. They have done such a great job with the streaming network, and I really appreciate all of that. And since gaming generally is beyond me, with some exceptions, I do really appreciate that. Also, next to Brodsky, Donny, you have the hardest to convey username, I think, on a podcast.
It used to be simple, but in my rebranding and unfortunately, Space Witch was taken on all social media spelled normally, so I felt it weird to kind of be like, oh, isn't that like hip and everything? But it is a pain to share and say, even on the Twitch streams on twitch.tv/One Piece Podcast. Whenever at the end plugging my own channel, I usually just type it in like the name of what we're streaming, so I could just say, hey, just follow down below, because it's a pain to say.
I also forget where the V's go for some reason. Sam, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Lucky Chainsaw, and they can find me on Blue Sky at lcsam.bluesky. Whatever, however their handle for.
Oh, you could have our handle. You guys could have .onepiecepodcast.com handles, because that's
How do we do that? We'll have to
tell
talk.
me.
I don't know how we do that.
No, you tell me if you want it, and I could do that. That's their version of verification, is that your domain, is what verifies you as part of the organization. You can't fake being part of it. That goes for, we could do that another time. Sam, I also want to take this moment to appreciate all you have done to keep the anime recap afloat in good and bad times. And I very much enjoyed hearing your thoughts this week. Ed, where could the good people find us?
Well, you are Zach_Logan on Twitter for now. I'm Edward E1 Piece on Twitter for now. I'll share my Blue Sky once you don't need a code for it, I guess. Once the party is open.
When it's not invite only. I'm also upset that it is.
Not for everyone.
There's good and bad for it, I think, but yeah.
Yep. The podcast can be found at the new and improved OnePiecePodcast.com. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Please support us, patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. You can subscribe on SoundCloud, on Spotify, iHeartRadio. Also subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, or call us on our phone number, Zach.
That phone number is 347-497-MAJI. That phone number again, 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
With your questions, comments, theories, or why you want to send the rich down the hole.
I throw in the hole.
Before we go, just a reminder, next week there is no manga, but we're really celebrating Gear 5, especially since next week's episode I am particularly excited for. It includes some of my favorite scenes in the manga, period. We're going to have Vincent Chansard and Kofi Fiagome on, as well as Grant and Sam having a reunion. The two ANN One Piece reviewers that have existed. I don't think any others have existed, right, Sam?
No, I was the first.
Yeah. So very excited for that. We'll talk a lot more, I'm sure, about the ending and everything else next week, too. So until then, we'll see ya. My name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And, goodbye. I don't know. What am I even doing here?
Bye-bye. It's Zach's bedtime now.
It is my bedtime. I was trying to think of a Gear 5 thing, and I couldn't. This is my peak ending. Oh, that would have been...